for yourself, but it is a prized commodity that so many people want and need. And so when you're a knowledge broker, if you will, this is something, as I said, that just lays on top of everything. And I'm so excited for everybody to get it. That's why we're doing what we do.
I love that so much. And I couldn't agree with you more. I know for myself as well, and anyone who's watching that's like me and was able to empower their mental health in a natural route, I didn't know until I met these two experts standing in front of you today that those changes that I made that empowered me were all brain health based. But now looking back, I can see exactly where those changes affected my whole well-being. And so thank you so much for sharing that. Would either of you be willing to share some simple strategies with us right now?
Yeah. I have one that's super, super simple, and it comes with a little bit of a pre-frame, and that is this. We've all heard of the mind, body, spirit connection. You know, it's kind of a lot of people view it as, okay, it's unicorns and crystals and rainbows and things like that, but it's a very real thing. And I kind of switched it up a little bit. And I say it's the mind, spirit, and body. And it's a loop, meaning as we think, that causes us, when I say spirit, I mean your emotion, how you feel. Whatever you think will release chemicals. I call it awesome sauce, if you will, the dopamine and the endorphins and things that make us feel good, or the antithesis of that, something makes you feel bad, cortisol and so on and so forth. But whatever you think will cause you to feel a certain way, which will cause you to perform a certain way. But guess what? As you perform a certain way, it causes you to think a certain way, which causes you to feel, and it's the loop. So everybody do this. Wherever you are right now, watch this. Just to show you that your body will influence this whole loop. Where you're sitting right now, put a frown on your face. Everybody put a big frown on your face like this, a scowl, if you will. And then where you are, just take a breath, take a deep breath. Now notice that. And now put a big smile on your face, a huge, huge smile on your face. Maybe if you want to show your teeth, there you go. And now with that big smile on your face, now take a deep breath. And what you'll notice is that you got more oxygen, up to 30% more oxygen. You're able to take a deeper breath with a smile on your face versus with a frown on your face, which means that and by the way, you got 80 muscles on your face. It's the largest area concentration of muscles on your whole body. And it's there for a reason. And when we smile, it literally sends signals to us that says this feels good. And when we feel good, what do? We take a deep breath. We breathe deeper, which gives, guess what? The other thing Dr. Amen said, your brain is 80% water, but guess what? It needs more than any other organ, and it doesn't get it within 3 minutes, it'll die, oxygen. And so when you can take a deeper breath, then guess what? You're giving that brain what it needs, and it starts to heal, it starts to be better. And that's super, super simple. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Amen has so many amazing things to teach you. I have so many amazing things to teach you that are so freaking simple that if you make those your rituals and encode that into your nervous system so that you function differently, then life changes processionally.
Absolutely.
So a couple of tips. I went to Oral Roberts University. And as you walk onto the campus, there's a triangle, mind, body, and spirit. And when I was a first-year medical student there, the dean of our medical school went to the board and he drew 4 big circles. So he actually expanded mind, body, and spirit. So the first one was biology, the actual physical functioning of your brain. And we're going to teach you biology, but I promise you it'll be way more fun than any biology class you've ever had. and the little tiny habit for biology, we already talked about. This is good for my brain or bad for it. The second circle was psychology. And the dean said, never think of your patients as their illness. Always think about them in these 4 big circles. So biology, obviously you have to know about physiology, psychology, which is your mind. And the little tiny habit for your mind is whenever you feel sad or mad or nervous or out of control, write down what you're thinking. And just ask yourself, is it true? I carry those 3 words around in my head all the time because your brain lies to you. It lies a lot. Thoughts come from your genes, from the news, from the mean girls when you were growing up, from your mom and dad's voice, from your spouse who likes you or not. You don't have to believe every stupid thing you think. So it's a psychological habit. The social circle, that's the third one. And they don't talk about that with mind, body, and spirit, but people are contagious. You become like the people you spend time with. And the little tiny habit, if you want better relationships, is notice what you like about other people way more than what you don't like. A couple who notices what they like 5 times more than what they don't like, they stay married. You don't have that 5-to-1 ratio, your marriage could be vulnerable. And then the last circle is the spiritual circle, which is not just do you believe in God, it's why the heck do you care? What is your deepest sense of meaning and purpose? And we have an exercise that will teach you called the one-page miracle. On one piece of paper, write down, what do you want? Relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. What do you want? And the little tiny habit is once you do this, is does it fit? Does what I'm going to do today fit the goals I have for my life? In my new book, Your Brain is Always Listening, I actually rewrote the 12-step program from a neuroscience perspective. You know, the 12 steps in AA were developed 85 years ago. There was not one neuroscience principle in it. And I'm like, well, if a neuroscientist rewrote these, and it doesn't start with my life is out of control. It actually should start with, well, what do you want? And then, is your behavior getting you what you want? You then clearly know when your life is out of control. So is it good for my brain or bad for it? Is it true? Notice what you like more than what you don't. And does it fit?
Thank you both so much for giving us so many things that we can apply just right now. And I know that you guys had to hold yourselves back because you're just scraping the surface there. So we're going to go into our next question, which is, while I still have you both here, I can't resist. Can you share a favorite story of impact you have either in your own life or with a client?
Yeah. It was the very first time, and I'll pre-frame this by saying, I'm a bit unorthodox in the way that I go about things. I'm a neuropsychologist. And what that means is I try to work with all 5 of your senses as much as possible. Everybody's different. And it was the very first time that I did this. And many people have heard me say this, but I want to tell you where it came from. A lady called me up that had a fear of dogs. I had a practice in Los Angeles for many, many years. And it was my first. Now, I'd actually worked with one other person with a fear of dogs, which is where I got the idea. Now, I always say to people have always heard me say this, that if you have a fear of dogs and you come into my office, take a guess what's going to be in my office. It's going to be a dog. And the reason is Dr. Amen and I agree on this, run towards your fear. Traditional therapy, traditional practice taught us to lay them down, talk to them about it, and those kind of things. I'm not about that. I'm about the processes of making the change now and then giving you something to do so it's going to geometrically expand throughout your life. And so I had a friend that had a Rottweiler, and the Rottweiler was just a lover. If he saw you, he would jump up and run and just jump on you and lick you. He was just a lover. But he looked like a Satan dog. He was one of those dogs that they used in that movie, Damien, I believe. And I went to Home Depot and I got a big, industrial chain. And I bought one of those big spike collars and I put it on him. And I chained him to my desk in my office. And I got peanut butter, no, it was toothpaste, and I put it on the roof of his mouth. So when he licked it, he foamed at the mouth. Now, there's a bunch of the story that I'm going to leave out, but one of the things that we're going to teach you, which is there's an exercise that I'm going to show you or a process that I'm going to show you to arrest any negative emotion in the moment. It's called a pattern interrupt. And so the reason why I want to see that fear in the moment is so that I can interrupt that pattern and place something else in. So what I did was and by the way, I worked with him previous to walking in the door, and I did something that I'm going to teach you called anchoring in a resourceful, bulletproof, powerful, excited, joyful, loving state. And I can trigger it like that. And so I walk him in, and as soon as I'm sorry, the first lady was a lady. She walks in, she sees the dog and freaks out. Now, I got to be honest with you. This is the first time that I did it. I was a little freaked as well. I had a glass of water and I had one of those air horns that, and what I did, because I knew the value of interrupting her pattern, because people try to change something without doing anything about the existing pattern. So I have her in full-on fear, full-on phobic mode, full-on distrust of me, by the way, because I walk her in my office and there's a freaking demon dog in there. And as soon as she looked at the dog, I threw the water on her and I also hit the horn. Now, in the moment, she's no longer concerned about the dog. She's pissed off at me. She looks at me and like, and in that moment, then I triggered her to feel good. And by the way, I didn't say this. When she walked in the door, the dog jumped up and charged her with foam coming out of his mouth, dragging my desk across the floor. And so she was in the worst fear that she could be, but all I did was interrupt the pattern. And then I did that over and over again until pretty soon, at the end of that hour, she's sitting on the floor laughing and hugging the dog. And it was in that moment that I got it, that, wait a minute, not only am I on to something, but this is something that the processes, and it was the genesis of some of the processes that I'm going to teach you here that you're going to learn here as well, to be able to change that. Dr. Amen, you talk about the demons or the dragons that people have, and he has an unbelievable process to help people mitigate those dragons. But we all have that. We all have those voices that aren't so kind to us or remind us and things like that. But the process of neural encoding is to program yourself so that you don't have to, do anything about it, but you automatically default to that on your own. And I got a bunch of stories like that, but that was the one that sticks out the most now.
That's an absolutely amazing story. And Dr. Amen, on that note, without spilling, of course, your whole book, would you mind sharing maybe a dragon or two that we could talk to the audience about?
Well, and your brain is always listening. The first section is about the dragons from the past that are always breathing fire on your emotional brain, causing you to react in ways that are often not helpful. My dragon is the first one. It's the abandoned, invisible, and insignificant dragon. I'm one of 7. I'm in the middle, and I have 5 sisters. So I was completely invisible. In a Lebanese family, the oldest son is the golden child. They go into the business. They are beloved, loved the most. And that actually made me feel really small when I was growing up. Now, later, I realized it's a huge opportunity because I didn't have to go in the grocery business, which, that was not my thing. But it drove me to really seek out significance. And sometimes it'll still bite me if things don't go the way I think they should. There's also the inferior flawed dragon, which is driving the epidemic of teenage suicide, the anxious dragon, the death dragon, which usually pops its head up in midlife. But because of the pandemic, 7-year-olds were wrestling with the death dragon and worried about their deaths or the deaths of their parents or grandparents. My favorite dragon, I actually have him here next to me, is the Ancestral Dragon, where the issues you have are actually not your issues, that you got them from your parents or your grandparents. And my wife, for example, her grandmother grew up in Lebanon during World War I when there was a great famine. And she had deprivation written in her genes. And when the pandemic started, my wife already had a pandemic room. Her genes had been preparing her for 3 generations that something bad was going to happen. And I used to bother her all the time. It's like, why are you spending money for things that we're never going to need? And now the pandemic is, I'll never be able to say anything to her again in the future. She's like, these bad things are going to happen. But if you know your dragons, then you can tame them, that they don't have to control you. And just imagine, out of the 13 dragons, the average number, there's a questionnaire I have online. We've collected 60,000 of them. On average, people have 6 dragons. Imagine if you have 6 and you're in a relationship with someone else who has 6, that often the dragons are like a modern day Game of Thrones in your head, and they can mess with your relationships, your happiness, if you don't know how to deal with them.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that will help a lot of people. And speaking of people that you've helped, you both have helped millions across the world. And you shared just recently 2 stories of helping people with us. Can someone help create change in others using these same tactics you both have used, even if they're not a neuroscience like the 2 of you?
Absolutely. When I did the Daniel plan, I was at Saddleback Church one Sunday I was about 7 or 8 months into it. And my wife and I and daughter, we were there, and we got stopped by a woman, and she said, I lost 35 pounds. And my wife said, congratulations. And the woman said, no, that's not why I'm here. I'm like, well, tell us. She said, well, when I first started the program, my husband wouldn't do it. And he, in fact, made fun of me and belittled me for doing it. But I just kept on. And you said, because I say this, is if the other people don't want to do it, if they belittle you because you're doing something different than they are, which makes them uncomfortable, I said, don't say anything. And she said, well, I was really good with that, except this one time when I said, I'm going to be happy long after you're dead. And then I stopped. I didn't say anything else. But as he saw me get healthy, he wanted what I had. And he had type 2 diabetes. He was obese. He had no energy. And he's like, oh, no, I want what she has. And so when I had talked to her, he was now down 75 pounds and off his diabetic medication. And they were brain warriors together.
Kendra, I will say that's part of the point. As I said earlier, putting control of the trajectory of one's own life and helping other people to do that in the hands of anybody, then that is where the power is. Look, true this, and that is that if the existing methods of helping people and changing their psychology and helping people get better were working, then we wouldn't have the challenges and the numbers that Dr. Amen pointed out earlier. Plain and simple. We have the challenges that we have right now because the existing system is not optimum. That's all what I'm going to say. And so, and I'm speaking to, again, your teachers, your mentors, your coaches of anything that you do, and especially those of you that have the calling to help other people, which we all do. The calling, and you know that you want to make other people's lives better as well. Procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, all of those things are the thieves of our dreams, and they exist and they live in most people. And when you have the tools and the strategies and the processes to help people, at the very least, mitigate those things, and at best, eliminate those things from their lives, and as Dr. Amen talks about, slay those dragons, then you not only have something that is valuable from a monetary standpoint, but it's also valuable from a humanity standpoint, that we're helping people, we're changing the world. And so, at the risk of sounding too dramatic about it, The reason we do what we do is because we have had the privilege of, of assisting in literally millions of people's lives change. And now it's for everybody. And lastly, I'll say this is that and I know, Kendra, you're going to talk more about more in depth some of the programs and things like that, is that right now, in this world right now, it's first to market that makes it happen. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of methodologies, there's a lot of people out there, but being somebody that has something that's valuable first and out there in front, not only are you going to lead the path and become what Dr. Amen says, the brain warrior, and to teach that to other people, but you're going to be, just virtue of the fact that you got started early, you're going to be better than those that get started later. The best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. Next best time is right now. And so we are so thrilled to be able to share this with you. And again, we're giving you the tip of the iceberg, and I'm going to try my best to shut the hell up, because I could go on and on about this. I know Dr. Amen could as well, but I'm excited for you.
Thank you so much for that, Joseph. And on the note of brain warriors, Dr. Amen, for those who choose to join the revolution as a Dr. Amen licensed brain trainer, they'll be licensed to teach the warrior's way. What does it mean to be a brain warrior?
It means you're armed, you're prepared, you're aware to win the fight of your life. I talked about the epidemic problems that we're facing, and make no mistake, you're in a war for the health of your brain. Everywhere you go, someone is trying to shove bad food down your throat that will kill you early. The real weapons of mass destruction, ISIS has not one thing on our food industry. The weapons of mass destruction are highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber, food-like substances stored in plastic containers. And they are ruining the health of North America. Add to that the newsmongers that are pouring negativity down your head. If you watch the news in the morning, you are 27% less happy that afternoon. Mix that with social media and the other ways our society is attacking us. And if you're not a warrior, you're vulnerable to having lost your mind. Did you know? I mean, the statistic is just horrifying to me. Of all the statistics I've given you today, of people who live to be 85, 50% of them will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. What that means is if you're blessed enough to live until you're 85 or older, and virtually everybody watching us today wants to, you have a 1 in 2 chance of having lost your mind. And I'm not okay with that. That just horrifies me. And the time to start is not when you start losing your memory. The time to start is this moment, or as Joseph said, is really 20 years ago. Absolutely true. Well, the second best time is now, no matter what your age is, because you don't want your brain deteriorating, because with that is a loss of independence. And and I know Joseph knows Tony Robbins, and I love Tony, and Tony's been to the clinic, and we did a Facebook Live, and he teaches people how to be successful. What we're teaching you is the hardware of it.
Yes.
That you need a brain that is healthy and functioning, and then it's much easier to program. If it's not healthy, if it's loaded with inflammation or toxins, it's hard. And we want to make it easy for you to be successful, for you and for the people you serve.
Definitely. And that is a perfect segue into what I want to talk about next, which is Joseph, the neuroencoding side of this. Your neuroencoding certification is a culmination of everything you've learned in getting results for others. Can you talk about what will make a neuroencoding specialist different from other coaches and presenters?
Yeah, a couple things. And by the way, I'm really moved by what you just said, Dr. Amen. That's the real. I will say this, that um, but myself and Dr. Amen, we have extensive um, certifications and formal educations and research and all of that stuff. And, I've got certified in hypnotherapy and neurolinguistics, neuroassociative conditioning, traditional therapy, gestalt therapy, all of that stuff. But the truth of the matter is we don't use all of it all the time. As a matter of fact, I liken it to your cell phone. If you look at your cell phone, how many apps do you have on your phone? Me, I counted them. I'm getting close to 70 now. But we don't use them all. We use the ones that benefit us the ones that get the best effect. And so, as a neuroencoding specialist, you're going to be certified not only to teach these processes, these methods, but they are the cherry pick. They're the ones that produce the biggest, the best, the fastest, the quickest, and deepest, most long-lasting results. And so that's part of it. It's actually three pieces. Number one, and that is the content, the strategies, the processes, and everything that you need. And then number two is the methodology of being able to, part of the program is if you have somebody, you can take them through stages. We have a 12-week course, we have a 5-week course that you can take people through these processes to get results. And as a matter of fact, and I don't know if we're going to show it on this or not, but you're going to see results of me doing what I teach you, and you watch the person go through the process that I teach them the same things, because you've got to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, to what people to get the result. And then you're going to see this person take it and they do what I said. They don't just take it as knowledge, they take it, and then just a few weeks later, you'll notice the results that they've got. So you'll have that skill set. The second thing is, remember what I said, that a lot of people see themselves as speakers and teachers, but the presentation, to be able to present it in a way that speaks to people's hearts, that speaks to people's souls, so that they feel like, well, I gotta do this. They have that sense of urgency to do something. That's the biggest difference. The presentation point. So what we've included in there is all of the things that you're going to need so that you can present in a way that causes people to take action. That is key. That is what's going to separate you from the masses, if you will. And then lastly, so what if you know all that stuff? If you don't have a way to get it out there or to market it, then it's going to be a billboard in the desert. So we supplied that with you as well. We want to, between Dr. Amen and myself, we want to equip you with all of the tools, the processes, the strategies, and everything that you need to be the absolute best. Lastly, I'll say this. I've said it a couple times. Encoding is programming. Encoding, and you're already programmed. We already are. Two different ways. Epigenetics, as we talked about, it's been handed down into our genes. And then secondly, the world around us has influenced us to come where we are right now. Today is the first day of the rest of your life and everybody else's, but it's also the last day of the past. And so when you help people with that, it is phenomenal. You'll get the rewards from, not just from a business standpoint, but you are let's just say paramount in somebody else's life and making a difference in their lives.
Thank you so much. That's so incredible to hear, and really to think about what I know we mentioned earlier, which is, the hardware and the software, having both of these programs come together to co-create something that is a complete brain and wellness transformation for people is just outstanding. So you've both seen hundreds of transformations. What's your favorite kind of transformation to see in a patient or a client?
When somebody does it for somebody else. When somebody goes, I got to change it. Guess what? I taught my daughter. I taught this to someone. It's beautiful to see somebody change on their own, but it's even more beautiful to see that they took it and took it and helped somebody else with it.
That was my answer. Is when someone does it and then shares it, then you have this ripple effect which is what we need
Yes.
to change our society. Our society is going the wrong way. And that's the whole idea behind the revolution, is that we need to arm a whole group of trainers and coaches so that they can teach people who will teach people who will teach yet more people.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. We need you. The world needs you. You need you right now. Better, and it's part of the reason why we're doing this is there's no better time than right now, at this place in history right now, to equip yourself, to equip other people, with the tools to make lasting, deep felt, and as Shyla puts it, science-based, heartfelt change.
Dr. Amen and Joseph, thank you both so much for the incredible insights and energy that you've brought to this question and answer session. The last question I want to ask of you both tonight is, why now? Why should someone be a part of the brain revolution?
Well, people don't know their why. They will never do what it takes to get and stay healthy and then to spread it. And I've thought about this a lot. I mean, motivation's tricky. But ultimately, it's what's in your soul that makes you want to do this. And for me, there are actually two stories at very different edges of life. I have 5 grandchildren, and I adore them. Emmy, who's now 10, was born floppy. Do you guys know what that means? It means when you held her, she had no muscle tone. She would just flop. And I was very worried about her and ordered a lot of tests. And at 5 months, it showed itself. She started having wicked seizures. In fact, in one day, she had 160 of them. My daughter sent me the videos and looked like she was being electrocuted. I was in Boston lecturing, and we got her to the emergency room and did an EEG looking at the electrical activity in her brain. It was just so disorganized. And I talked to the neurologist who diagnosed her with something called West syndrome. 30% of these kids die before the age of 3. Many of them never walk. I mean, he's giving us all of this terrible news, and he wants to put her on a medicine that's $26,000 a dose and has horrible side effects, like it wipes out their immune system. And I'm like, well, why don't we put her on a ketogenic diet? And he's like, oh, there's no science behind that. And Tana, my wife, says she heard the relationship go south when I asked the doctor if he knew how to read. Because I'm like, you're kidding, right? There's 70 scientific studies. Most of them were done at this little place in Minnesota called the Mayo Clinic, or the other little place in Baltimore called Johns Hopkins. And I fired him, like on the spot. Went to the ketogenic clinic at the University of Oregon, and a couple of months later, she's without seizures, and she actually stayed seizure-free. This little girl needs my brain to be healthy so that I can protect her. I am her brain warrior. And without me being alive and healthy, she's not going to get the medical care she needs. And when I got serious about being healthy, I've had a complicated relationship with my father. I remember in 1979 when I told him I wanted to be a psychiatrist, he asked me why I didn't want to be a real doctor, why I wanted to be a nut doctor and hang out with nuts all day long. And that hurt my feelings. I mean, years later, I sort of get it. We're the only medical specialists that never look at the organ we treat. But when I looked at my brain and I started to get serious, I'm like, your brain is an organ like your heart is an organ. You have to get it healthy. And I started nudging my dad to get healthy. He's like, oh, great. Now you're a health nut. What's with you and the nuts? But it made me feel small. His belittling really bothered me. But I did the right thing. And I did the right thing for 20 years without him really appreciating it until he got sick. And then it was about 7 years ago. He had mold in his house, developed a chronic cough, then a heart arrhythmia and heart failure. And this guy, who often would say, I don't get heart attacks, I give them, became depressed for the first time in his life. And I went over his house and he looked at me and he said, Danny, I'm sick of being sick. What do you want me to do? And the only reason he asked me is for 20 years, I lived the message of my life. And he's so stubborn. He just did everything I asked him to do. And within 6 months, he's lost 40 pounds. His energy soared. He's back to work. He's playing golf. He could do a 6-minute plank. Just unbelievable. And my why, I'm a brain warrior leader because I know it will lead other people. It will protect those I love and inspire those who need me. Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to lead other people to brain health? When you know why, then you'll do what you need to do.
So profound. I have absolute chills. Joseph, do you want to close us out with your why for today?
If you're watching me right now, if you're watching us right now, it means that you have a calling, you have a need to serve. And I honor you for that. And I commend you for that because so much of it is needed right now. And the challenge with most people that I've seen for decades is that they lack the belief that they can do it. They lack the belief in themselves that they can make that difference. A lot of people feel like, and I call it the paralysis of analysis. I got to learn more. I got to learn more. I got to learn more. And they don't do what they know. And so what I want you to know is this, is that you can do this. You can. And we designed this so that you can, step by step, no stone unturned, and everything that you need, and just what you need to make a difference. And I will say that to everybody, that you deserve not only to see how you function at your absolute best, but how to help other people function at the absolute best. And so as you go forward, if you don't have the belief, and maybe if you do and you need it strong, you take myself and you take Dr. Amen with you. One of my mentors, Jim Rohn, years ago, he had this saying, and he said, if you can't see what I see, borrow my glasses. And so I say that to you. If you can't see what we see, then borrow our glasses, but then also borrow our processes, our strategies, borrow the methodology, borrow everything that you need so that we can all make a difference. Because life is exactly what you dare to make it. It really is. And fortune favors the bold. And so your opportunity to boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent is also a pledge to help other people make their lives magnificent. I'm so excited for you and so excited for this whole movement to make such a difference. And Dr. Amen, I'm so thrilled for these last several months to be working with you and to learn from you and to be putting this together to make a difference. And now it's your turn, everybody. It's your turn. Lastly, I'll say this at the risk of sounding arrogant. I've had the privilege of being in front of and teaching close to 5 million people now from the stage, and thousands of people from one-on-one interactions and working with people. And the joy that I have been able to receive in watching people's lives change. But it's not because I'm so special. It's not because I'm so great. It's because I have a methodology. I always tell people everything that I know and everything that I do comes from, I learned it somewhere else. And all we've done is condensed it in a way and put it in a way that you're not only going to learn it, but you'll do it, and then you'll teach it, and it starts to become that processional effect. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to see the results that you're going to produce and the people that you're going to serve.
Thank you both so much for your time, insights, energy, all of the above today. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kendra.
Joseph and Daniel, this is such an exciting time. We can see people in the comments gaining huge insight and gathering energetic excitement for the revolutionary mission ahead. For those of you tuning in, we have an exciting update for you. We want every single person on this summit to receive material to help them in their personal revolutions. This is why Joseph and Daniel have each created a 6-video course for you, and we've included the Brain Warriors Way Guide, complete with recipes and nutritional guidance. Be sure to log on to learn.brainrevolution.com to access your free course. Daniel, Joseph, we're so grateful you've donated a couple of hours of content directly out of the Brain Health Licensed Trainer and Neuroencoding certifications to play on today's summit and add additional value to our viewers. But while we still have you live, do you have any final thoughts for those watching today?
Yeah. I always say that the spoils in life don't go to those that just want and desire, contrary to popular belief. The spoils in life, whatever that is, go to those that take action and continue to take action, something I call activity. And so the trick to life is to take the step, even though it might be scary and there's some uncertainty. Take the step and continue to take those steps, because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else around you. So I'm just thrilled for you, excited for you, and excited that you're going to do something that is not going to just make a difference in your life, but in the lives of so many other people as well.
Well, I love that, Joseph. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Kendra. I'm grateful to everyone that took their time to watch us today. And you have a historic opportunity to take responsibility for your life, your brain, your health, and you can influence so many other people. Lincoln said, "Good things may come to those who wait, but only those things left behind from those who hustle."
Ooh.
Wow. Thank you so much again for your time and wisdom today. If you're watching and want more information about these 2 certifications being offered in a revolutionary package, we encourage you to go to brainrevolution.com and gather all the details. We want to give you a feel for what's to come and what you'll be able to offer as a Dr. Amen brain health trainer and a neuroencoding specialist. Before we preview just a small slice of these incredible programs, I want to assure you that you are in the right place at the right time. If making an impact in the lives of other people is important to you, then I know the opportunity I'm going to share with you in the next 7 minutes is going to help you take a significant step in the right direction. For the past 3 decades, these two visionaries and leaders in the field of neuroscience have committed their lives to creating resources, tools, processes, and systems to help millions of people all over the world break free from anxiety, fear, depression, and limiting beliefs. Now, for the first time ever, they are making their life's work available to those people who want to help expand their reach and impact. They have created an opportunity for you to carry their names into your marketplace and to be licensed to speak, teach, train, and coach using the exact same processes, systems, and resources they have used with their clients. So you can be confident that you will help your own clients reach breakthroughs faster, and even more so, sustain those breakthroughs. Now, in addition to helping yourself and others, this program is a business opportunity, and Daniel and Joseph want to help you win. When you complete your training, you'll be licensed in 2 powerful and complementary training programs, the Neuroencoding Certification with Joseph McClendon III and the Licensed Brain Trainer Program with Dr. Daniel Amen. You will be able to take both of these training programs to the marketplace, and you will keep 100% of all the fees you generate. That's right. You keep 100% of what you earn. No tricks, no small type. What's even better is there are no renewal fees or any additional dues of any kind ever. This is your business, and Daniel and Joseph believe you deserve the rewards. They win because they have trusted advisors like you in the marketplace, helping bring their message to millions of more people than they could ever reach without you. Look, the first step is to get in. You will be given lifetime access to a complete online resource training platform where you will find all the resources and training for both programs in one easy-to-use platform 24 hours a day. Now, this platform is filled with every resource you will need to learn the skills necessary to be a speaker, trainer, and coach for both programs. On the platform, you're going to find downloadable workbooks, teaching guides, PowerPoint presentations, facilitator and participant guides for mastermind groups, and professionally filmed keynote presentations led by Dr. Daniel Amen himself, and the transcript of that presentation, so you can use the exact same language patterns and data points he uses when he gives his keynotes to audiences all over the world. You're also going to get access to Joseph's presentation and speaking strategies and tactics that are science-based, training you on everything you need to know, including where to stand on stage and how to use your behaviors to train the audience. Joseph knows the power of personal magnetism, and he wants to share how you can develop this for yourself. There are hours of professionally filmed videos of both Daniel and Joseph teaching the exact content you will be teaching, as well as marketing brochures, template emails, and autoresponders. Everything you need is included within the 2 programs. We have even included a video series of how to onboard new clients using the same process Dr. Amen's top coaches use. Remember, you have access to all of these resources for life. They never go away, and you will never pay an additional fee or renewal fee ever. Hey, but that's not all. Daniel and Joseph want to set you up to win. So in addition to unlimited access to this resource platform, they have included, at no extra cost or fee, unlimited access to 3 live weekly support calls for 6 months, which focus on learning the core content, understanding how to coach a person through the resources, and perhaps most importantly, how to market and sell your services. Every one of these calls will also include time for a live, interactive question and answer section hosted by members of Daniel and Joseph's team. So what Daniel and Joseph both know to be a fact from reaching tens of millions of people is that when you're out in the marketplace building your business and your presence, trying to explain who you are and why your prospects should hire you can be a daunting task, to say the least. Truthfully, most people don't have the credibility and reach that both Daniel and Joseph do. They are two of the most relevant names in the field of brain health and neuropsychology, the hardware and software that control everything we do in our lives. That's why having the brand association and credentials with these two names automatically lends you the credibility you need to connect with your prospects and to demonstrate the value you have to offer them. Let me tell you this. Without question, there is real market power and association in our world today, and you'll have it with this program. We are equipping you with everything you need to be successful and to help you help your clients create transformation in their lives, which is the real success, isn't it? To learn more about all of the vast array of resources and licensed content that you will have the rights to use with your clients, simply go to brainrevolution.com to watch a full overview of this program. The bottom line is, never before have two top leaders come together to join forces to help people build a business in this way. For the first time ever, Dr. Amen and Joseph McClendon are allowing people from all walks of life and points of interest to join their teaching teams, and they are inviting you right now, today, to step into what may be the largest opportunity for coaches, speakers, and trainers. All of this is backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee that we outline in our commitment form. So please be sure this is something you want to partner with Joseph McClendon and Dr. Daniel Amen on before you enroll online or request a call from someone on their team. We'll be glad to answer any additional questions you may have that aren't answered on the frequently asked questions page. So, for a limited time, there is one price that covers the total and full investment of both of these programs. For the price of just $2,497, you will have lifetime access and the license right to speak, teach, and coach both of these programs. Let me say that again, because I know you'll want to make sure you heard me correctly. For the price of just $2,497, you will have lifetime access to both of these programs and all of the resources I have mentioned and many more that I just didn't have time to share. As I mentioned, this is a limited time offering. You could easily expect to pay over double that price, upwards of $5,000, if either of these two programs were offered separately. Dr. Amen and Joseph wanted to make their investment consistent with their desire to achieve their true goal of launching a program to build an army of people to start a revolution, to put an end to the stigma of mental illness and shift the paradigm to one of mental wellness through the principles of neuroscience that they have committed their lives to. So if you're ready to join this global teaching team in the Brain Revolution, go now to brainrevolution.com. If perhaps you're looking for a preview of the content you'd be licensed to teach in these two programs, stick around. First up, we will hear a preview of the keynote speech from Joseph McClendon III. This keynote centers around delivering your audiences the tools they need to interpret negative thinking patterns, equipping them with Joseph's revolutionary stop technique. So please enjoy this exclusive preview of the neuroencoding license content.
And so without further ado, let's bring to the stage our keynote speaker today, Joseph McClendon III. Give it up for Joseph, everybody.
Thank you so much, Shyla. Oh, please stop. Well, welcome. For those of you that I know, hello again. For those of you that I don't, I'll share with you a little bit about myself here in a moment. But first, I want to congratulate you and thank you for your trust ahead of time in something that I promise you has the ability to change your freaking life forever. I know that sounds bold and flamboyant, but as you follow along and as you learn this, and more specifically, as you do this, you're going to see that we're going to more than deliver. And so, again, I'm Joseph McClendon III, and my background is I'm a neuropsychologist. By profession, that's what I do, is help people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges and things that hinder their lives. But by trade, what I do is what's called an ultimate performance specialist. I have the privilege of working with Academy Award-winning movie stars and actors and actresses and Grammy winners and millionaires and billionaires and all of those things. And I share all those things with you not to brag or to boast, but for three reasons. Number one is to let you know that this is not my first rodeo. And what you're about to learn here today is going to be a culmination of the things that I've taught to these people and gotten results. The second thing is just that I've gotten results for these people year after year. And the third thing is that I don't teach theory, meaning I'm not going to teach you something that I've not done for myself and gotten results for myself. Okay? And so what people want is a way, the ability to be able to deal with those things and continue to move, but go further faster. And so the question that I have for you is, do you want what you want sooner rather than later? Most everybody says yes. And the reason is because time is our most precious commodity. And yes, we do need to have patience and things like that. But if you go after something and you want to make something happen, the ideal is to do it sooner rather than later. And I'm not talking about leaving anything out. I'm just talking about those hacks and those shortcuts to get where we want. And I'm sure that's what you want as well. But here's what you've done in the past. You've said you were going to do something. You intended to do something. You really meant it with your heart to do it. You had all the reasons to do it, but you didn't do it. You procrastinated, you hesitated, something stood in your way, something got in your way and caused you not to go after what you want, even though you knew what it was. Even though you had the desire and the passion, you read all the books, you went to all the seminars, but you didn't do it. And that held you back, and that stopped you. And whatever goes on inside of you, that curiosity or whatever, because a lot of people, I think most people, cause themselves to feel bad about those kinds of things. But here's what I want you to know. You're not alone. Everybody's done it. I've done it myself. And whether it was situations or circumstances that put you in a position to do that, to have those types of memories and those types of things, whatever it is, we all had them. And I had them as well. There was a time in my life when I was literally homeless. I didn't have anything. And everything that I did, everything that I wanted at that point, I knew I could do it. I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it. And something happened. Something came along and somebody changed my life, and they taught me some strategies and some tools and some processes to make those changes in my life. And so the solution to wherever you are right now to make happen what you need to make happen is to have a process, to have a series of things that you can address those issues, that whatever stops you. And I always say to people that it's not about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know, because we all know how to do things. People that want to lose weight, they know how to lose weight. People that know that want to make money, they actually know how to make more money. You work harder, you do extra things and things like that, but we don't always do what we know. And so again, a solution is to have a process, some processes that you can use to adjust how you feel, so you adjust what you do, so you can adjust what you get. And that's what we're going to do now. So here's what I'd like you to do. As I'm teaching you this, what I want you to do is I want you to take some notes. And as a matter of fact, right now, here's what I want you to do. Take a deep breath and put a big smile on your face. Big smile on your face. Big smile on your face. There you go. And all I want you to say is these words right now. And do exactly as I'm doing right now. Now is my time. With that smile on your face. That's it. Say it. Now is my time. Beautiful. And now you're ready. And so the first thing I'm going to teach you is something that I call the stop technique. And the stop technique does exactly what I was just talking about. It gives you the ability to arrest any negative emotion or feeling or memory or anything that goes on that hinders you from getting what you want. Or more specifically, any emotion that precedes a behavior that is unresourceful, doesn't get you what you want. Now, I'll give you an example. The emotion of fear of failure. That fear, whatever goes through you, stops you from stepping up and, making that phone call that you need to make. Or doing whatever it is, that emotion that goes on. And you got to say, okay, well, what caused that emotion? We don't have to know all of those things. We just have to know that that emotion is there. Or you could have doubt about yourself based on something somebody said to you a long time ago, or you had something happen in your past. The example that I used before was with myself. Something happened to me that caused me to become homeless. I had three grown men try to take my life when I was younger. That left me with just so much doubt about myself. That left me with so much insecurity about myself, and that continued to play over and over in our heads. I'm here to tell you that your entire life is a result of those events that happened in our past over and over again. And so whether it's a memory or whether, even if you don't know what that memory is, if you just have a feeling that does not serve you, that's what we're going to do here. And so the stop technique involves 4 of the major things that control our lives. Number 1 is awareness. Awareness meaning finding out exactly what it is, because some of us don't know. Some of us may start with a behavior. We say, I don't want to smoke anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. What I do is I tend to procrastinate, or I tend to hesitate, or whatever it is. I don't know what it is that stops me from doing it. I don't know why I feel that way. So discovery and awareness is always the first step. And so when I teach this, I say to you, and you probably heard me say this before as well, bring me your worst nightmare. Bring me the thing, the memory that you had, or the fear that you have that you know stops you. And so I'm going to ask you to do this. I want you to take a note, and remember this, as you write, you invite. I want you to take notes on this. And I want you to write down at least one emotion, one thing. And by the way, you might not know that it's an emotion, so you can say it's an event. I was bullied when I was in high school, or I got teased, or this is what I thought. I want you to write one thing down, or I'm just going to write a few things down that you would like to change. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to do that. And I just want you to, whatever it is. And remember, this is all about our outcome that we're going to do is to get rid of that stuff so we can replace it with something else. This is not just getting rid of something and creating that hole. This is about getting rid of it so that we can replace it with something else. So take a few moments, and I want you to make a list of anything, whether it's a bad memory, whether it is a feeling that you know of, or a habit or behavior that you want to change. Go for it right now. Okay, so welcome back. Now, shake yourself out, take a deep breath, and put a smile on your face. There you go. And say the words, I am magnificent. Point to yourself. And remember, everything that I do has a reason and a purpose, even as silly as that is. And so what you should have is a few things, or 1 or 2 things that you would like to get rid of. Things that hinder your life. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to just choose one of them. Doesn't matter which one. I would encourage you to choose the one that impacts you the most. Just choose one of them. And remember, it doesn't mean that you don't get to have all of the others. You can work on them individually, but you won't necessarily have to. Because if you work on one, remember that line, it's going to have the effect of working on all the others as well. And what you'll find yourself is, when something happens, you'll find yourself default to a more resourceful state, at the very least. But as you do this, here not too long from now, you're not going to be able to feel that feeling anymore. Now, so the first step is discovery. We've just done that. So you've discovered, you found one thing. And also, you are going to be able to have this tool with you for your life. And you're also going to find yourself doing it automatically. The one thing I also want to point out to you, that this is not designed just for you to, when you feel bad, to be able to snap yourself out of it. You see, the stop technique, as I said before, is a method of you being able to administer a process, or do a process to yourself, so that this process takes an unresourceful behavior / emotion, if you will, breaks it apart, interrupts that pattern. I'll tell you what that means here in just a moment. And then replaces it with something that is more resourceful, and then conditions it so that it happens automatically. And so when something happens to you, boom, you show up and you demonstrate a better behavior, and a predetermined better behavior. And so the first element, as I said, is discovery. We've got that down. Throw your hand in the air, pat yourself on the back, and say, I am amazing. Okay. Now the second piece is that we want to know what we want to replace it with. And what that means is it's no sense just busting it open and having that hole, and there's no sense getting rid of it without putting something in, because if you don't put something else in there, guess what? You will revert back to what you've done before. And so this is not a matter of you trying to figure out why things happen. It's just, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it and accelerate that process of making the thing that you want to do the thing that you do habitually. And I'll give you an example. In my life, I've had, obviously, a lot of things, good things happen, but I've had some bad things happen as well. And a few years ago, it's been about 3 years ago, I was in Florida, and I got a phone call. And the phone call was, I live in California, by the way, just so you know. And the phone call was from my alarm company. And the alarm company said, Joseph, are you at home because your alarm has gone off? And I said, no, I'm in Florida. And they said, okay, well, we're going to dispatch the police. Now, I live in a gated community, and the gated community has a live guard 24 hours a day at the guardhouse. And when I leave, I traveled quite a bit, and when I leave, I take everything that I value, my family photos, my watch collection, my recordings of my mom that my mom passed away a few years ago. Everything that I value, I put in there, and I collect rare and expensive bass guitars. And so I take them and I put them in this big 600-pound gun safe. It's this big. It's 5.5 feet tall. It's 3.5 feet deep. It's huge. It took 3 men to put this thing in, and it's bolted into the ground. So I never worry about it. I never worry about it. And so so when the alarm went off, I thought, okay, well, I've had false alarms. And by the way, it was 5 o'clock in the morning in Florida, which means it was 2 o'clock in the morning in California. And so I wasn't worried about it. I thought, okay, well, it's probably a false alarm or whatever. But anyway, I got a 500-pound safe or 600-pound safe with everything I own or everything that I value is inside of there. And there's a guard, 150 yards away. I'm not worried about it. I literally go back to sleep. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call. The phone call is from the sheriff. And the sheriff says, Mr. McClendon, it's the sheriff's department. It appears somebody has broken into your home. Now, we have the place surrounded. We got the dogs and everything. Can we go inside? And I go, well, yeah. And so I don't go back to sleep. And it was a bit of an inconvenience for me. I felt myself going, oh, great, now, I'm going to have to call my insurance because they've probably taken the TVs and some other things and maybe caused some damage. And I didn't go back to sleep, but I didn't feel that bad. And then about 15 minutes later, I get another phone call. And the phone call was from the sheriff again. And the sheriff goes, Mr. McClendon, did you have a safe? And in that moment, it felt like somebody punched me in the face and punched me in the stomach at the same time. I was devastated. My mother's voice I'll never hear again. There was some cash in there. There was, all the things that I valued, my precious bass guitars, one of them that I built 30 years ago, gone. And I was devastated. I felt myself welling up. I felt anger. I felt all of those things that were just, it was terrible. And that feeling lasted for about 20 seconds, and then something washed over me. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy that they stole my stuff, but something washed over me, and I calmed down, and I got centered, and my brain started to think, okay, well, what's next? What do we do? How do we do this? Now, long story short, because I was quickly able to go into that, default to that, if you will, I was able to tell the sheriff's department some things. And a couple months later, I didn't get all my stuff back, but I got some of my stuff back. Why do I share that with you? Is because I have an automatic default. And the default is whenever anything shows up, no matter what it is. Yes, I'm human just like everybody else. When something shows up, yes, I'm going to get unresourceful for a moment. I'm going to have that reaction for a moment. I'm going to maybe even get fearful in a moment. But automatically, I become centered. Automatically, I become resourceful in that moment. And so I ask you this question, and I want you to write the answer down. Would this be a useful tool for you to have? My guess is the answer yes. Remember, everything that I say, I want you to do, write it down. The answer is yes. And that's what the stop technique. The reason I have that default is because of the stop technique. And so if this is of value to you, here's what I want you to do. Take a deep breath, put a smile on your face, and do it again. Say, I am amazing. Now, as silly as this might sound, you might be going, why does he have me doing that? And if you're not doing this, I encourage you to step up and do it now because you're going to use it later. You're going to need it later. So discovery is the first thing. We already have that. The second thing is to find out exactly what we want. And so my question for you is, and I need you to write the answer down, is anything that is positive, even if it's just a little bit positive, all the way to ecstatic, is it better than anything that's on your list there? Yes or no? Is joy better than what you wrote down on your list, frustration or the memory of getting teased or something like that? Anything. Would you rather in the moment feel some sort of joy or some sort of positive than whatever you wrote on your list? Write the answer down, yes or no. The answer is obviously yes. And so that's our target. And so now what I want you to do, I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to write down a list, as big a list as you possibly can, of joyful, happy, positive emotions and maybe even some memories. I want you to, matter of fact, I want you to write down 5 emotions that you have words for: joy, happiness, ecstatic. Whatever it is, I just want you to rack your brain. And remember, I'm having you do this because as you think, as you search, your brain is actually rewiring. So search for them now, write them down. 5 different emotions that are great. And then I also want you to write down 5 different memories that you've had that caused you to, that you remember, that made you feel great. Maybe it was Christmas, a Christmas day, or the day you got married, or the day your child was born, or whatever it is. Write those down. 5 emotions and 5 memories. Write them down, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so welcome back. Put a smile on. Here's what I want you to do. Stand up. Stand up. Shake yourself out. Because I can see that some of you have, toiled over this. Shake yourself out, put a smile on your face, and repeat after me and point to yourself. Say, I am amazing, with a smile on your face. And then say this. Say, I am magnificent, with a smile on your face. Now, if you're home alone or you're doing this on your own, turn and find a mirror and just look yourself in the eyes. Even if you don't have a mirror, imagine yourself and say, I am amazing. Imagine yourself doing that. Now, shake yourself out and have a seat. All right. Now, we have what we want to change, which is, like I said, the discovery or the awareness. And then, secondly, we have what we want to change to. And I know these are broad, but we're going to tighten them up here in a second. So we have the first 2 steps. We have what we want to change, and we have what we want to change to. And so the next step is that I'm going to teach you something about how to break up or interrupt this first thing, the thing that you want to change. And that's something called a pattern interrupt. And a pattern interrupt means everything that we do, whether it's a pattern of emotion, a pattern of behavior, or something that we do it as a result of we've done it before. Remember what I said. We do things out of repetition. We do things out of familiarity. You eat the same types of food. You tie your shoes the same way. You ride a bicycle the same way. You drive a car. Everything that you do as a result of repetition that you've done over and over again. And so, because that's true, we're going to use it to our advantage as well. But that repetition that you do is called a pattern. And we have a repetition of patterns of emotion. We have a pattern of when something shows up that is a challenge to us, we have a pattern of either retreating and going into fear, or a pattern of stepping up and going to it. Whichever one it is, that pattern exists in that moment. In that moment. And in order to change, to replace it with something, we must first bust it open. We must interrupt that pattern. I'll give you a perfect example. The example is this. And you've all done this. See if you can relate to this. You're sitting in your house and you think to yourself, oh, I got to go, because maybe you hear something on television or whatever, or you get an idea, and you go, I got to go get a pencil and paper to write this down so that I remember it. And you're excited, you're sitting on the couch, you're going, okay, I got to do this, and you go, okay, I'm going to remember this. And you stand up and you walk into the kitchen, and there you are standing in the kitchen going, what the hell did I come in here for? Why did I come in here? Now, raise your hand if you've ever done anything like that. Of course, we've all done that. Now, most of us think, well, I'm losing my memory. There's something wrong, Well, the truth of the matter is there's nothing wrong. It is a normal human behavior, phenomenon, if you will. And it's called a pattern interrupt. And that means that you were in a pattern of thinking, of focused on ink, pen, and pad, and what you wanted to write down in a moment. That's what you were seeing in your mind. In your brain was saying ink, pen, and pad. Your body is in this physical motion right now, and that is the pattern that you're in that moment. A pattern of thought, which is just seeing and saying something. A pattern of your physical body, the way that you are. That's the pattern that you're in. When you stand up, you change all of those things. 4 things happen, and this is critical that you understand this. As soon as you stand up, you interrupt that pattern. You change that pattern. So as soon as you stand up, you're no longer in that focus, number 1. You're no longer seeing that in your mind. Number 2, you're no longer saying it in your mind. Number 3, you're no longer in that physical form that you're in. And number 4, the most important of it all, is you have created a blank spot in your mind. That's why you're going, what? And that blank spot in psychology is called a scotoma. You don't have to remember that word, but just think of it like this. It's a vacuum inside your head. Now, why do I share that with you? Because this is such a valuable place, because guess what? You get to fill it up with whatever you want. And in this case, you get to fill it up with any of those things you put on that list right there, that you already agreed that any of those things would be better than the negative thing. So in short, all you're going to be doing is feeling bad, and in my case, and I'm going to say on purpose, okay? And then interrupting that pattern so you're not feeling bad, but you've created that scotoma, that blank spot, and then we're going to fill it up with feeling good. As a matter of fact, this is the formula, and I want you to write this down. This is the fundamentals of the stop technique, if you will. Feel bad, interrupt the pattern, feel good, and I'm not going to tell you what the last one is yet. So we'll come back to that. Leave that space there, put number 4, and we're going to fill it up later. So the first 3 steps are feel bad, and when I say feel bad on purpose, I mean feel bad on purpose. And I'll give you a perfect example. I told you many, many years ago, I helped people get over fears and phobias for a long time in Los Angeles, really all over the world. And people would come into me to help them get over these phobias and these things that hindered their lives. And one of the most popular things that people would come in, believe it or not, was fear of dogs. And I say, and you probably heard me say this before, if you come into my office, there's going to be a dog. And the reason being is because I want you to feel bad in that moment so that I can interrupt that pattern and fill it up with something else. Now I'm going to tell you the process that I do once I teach you the stop technique, and you're going to get it, that wow, that's all he's doing. And so for you, it's the same thing. What I want you to do is I want you to get that all we're going to do is feel bad on purpose. Just like the dog, when you come into my office, there's going to be a dog there. Why? So we have that emotion so that we can deliberately interrupt that pattern, so that we can deliberately replace it with something else. Step number 1 is discovery. You've got that already. Step number 2 is to have our destination, our outcome, what we want. And that is all the things you wrote on that piece of paper. Step number 3 is to interrupt the pattern when it's time to do. Okay? And then step number 4 is to condition it. Next, I'm going to share with you how to capture the emotion of the positive that we have. Capture the emotion and build it up so much greater than the negative, because that's all we're going to be doing, is we're going to take so much positive, so much positive, so much positive, and the negative one, and we're going to collapse them. You'll have so much positive that when we put it in that hole, the negative cannot exist. They can't exist in the same place. And the way that we do that so that you're able to capture it is a process called triggering, or anchoring, if you will. And all that is a methodology of being able to bring up a great emotion and then attach it to some sort of stimulus. Meaning, get happy and get joyful, that kind of thing. That's great, but we want to be able to access it so that we can trigger it in any moment. If we had a trigger that we could do at any moment, actually what we're going to do is you are going to, those things that you put on your list there, those 5 emotions and those experiences that you had that make you feel good, we're going to capture those emotions the same way. You're going to get excited, and we're going to ring a bell. And all you're going to do to ring that bell is what you've already been doing. Now, you can do lots of different things. All I'm going to do, I'm going to teach you what to do, and that is this. You go, I am magnificent. And all I want you to do is squeeze your fist and say yes as well, okay? So all we're going to do, just like with Pavlov's dog, is you're going to get excited. We're going to use the word excited for those 5 things on that list, okay? Or that's those 10 things on that list. You get excited, and when you're there, you're going to go, I am magnificent, yes, just like that. That's all we're going to do. And what will happen is when you go, I am magnificent, yes, you will be able to access and you'll be connected to, and that will be a trigger for you to feel good. You can't get this wrong unless you don't do it. And so we're going to do this together. Okay? So to reiterate, all you're going to do is feel good, apply the trigger. Feel good, apply the trigger. Feel good and go, I am magnificent. Smile on your face like that. I am magnificent. And squeeze your fist and go, yes, like that. And so all I want you to do is to allow yourself to imagine something. And you can't get this wrong. And all I want you to do is I want you to remember, I'm going to take you through a process. We'll play a little bit of music. And I'm going to take you through this process. And in the process, all I'm going to ask you to do is to remember this and to remember that. And you can remember those things that you wrote down, or you can make up new stuff. I'm just going to make some suggestions. And every time you do this, and do not hold back. I want you to yell out as loud as you can. I am magnificent, yes! As loud as you can. And it's important that you do that because remember, we're moving our bodies as we do this. So here's what I want you to do. Take a deep breath in, put a big smile on your face. And close your eyes. Now you can do this with your eyes open, it's okay. But most of us are better doing our eyes closed because you don't have the distractions that are going on. And so with your eyes closed, a deep breath. And in this whole time, I want you to keep the smile on your face because we're only looking for positive, aren't we? And with that smile on your face, that huge smile on your face, I want you to remember a time, whether it was on your list or not. Remember, or even create a time when you were super excited about something. Something was getting ready to happen in your life. You were getting ready to get a gift or go somewhere or meet somebody or whatever. And it's because it's in the past, we already know that it worked out. But you were super excited about it. It doesn't matter whether you were 5 years old or 50 years old, whenever it was. I want you to remember one of those times. And I want you to think about maybe even some of the stuff that you put on your list, an excitement or whatever. Think about something that makes you excited and allow yourself to feel that right now and put a big smile on your face. And with that big smile on your face, you know the words. Point to your heart and say, I am magnificent, and squeeze your fist and go, yes! Perfect. And now I want you to remember a time when you felt joy. A little bit different from excitement, but you were just so joyful. You were just so happy about something, whatever it is. Maybe you got a reward. Maybe it was, you went somewhere. Maybe you just saw something. Maybe you were at a movie. Maybe you were on a date or whatever it was. Go back to that time or make that memory right now. And the way you can access it, just so you know, is put a bigger smile on your face right now. If you've been around me at all, you know that as we smile, it makes our brain release chemicals that make us feel good. So put a big smile on your face and go back to that time as though you're there right now with a big smile on your face. There you go. Back there as though it's there right now. And on the count of 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. I am magnificent. And squeeze your fist and say, yes. Do it again. Say, I am magnificent. Big smile on your face. Yes. There you go. And now use that same memory or that same thing that you did and let's intensify it. As though it's right now. Intensify it even stronger, even bigger, even more powerful right now. Big smile on your face. That's it. Big smile on your face. On the count of 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. I am magnificent. Yes. One more time. I am magnificent. Yes. Now shake yourself out. Keep that smile on your face. Keep that smile on your face. And I want you to think about this. I want you to remember a time where you gave, felt, or received love. Whatever that means to you in the positive. Gave, felt, or received love. Whether it's from another human being, whether it's from you, whether it's from your puppy, or whatever. Love. Whatever that means to you in the positive. If you're thinking to yourself, well, I never felt love, feel it right now. I love you. And on some level, you love you as well. On some level, somebody had to love you enough to take care of you, feed you, clothe you, and do all of those things until you were able to do that for yourself. I want you to go back to that time or imagine that time. And take a deep breath. And it's a little bit softer, but keep the smile on your face. Stand the way that you would stand if you were absolutely flooded with absolute love, kindness right now. And now the same thing. Point to your chest and say it. Say, I am magnificent. I am magnificent. And squeeze your fist and say yes. And now I want you to intensify that feeling right now. Intensify it even more, even more, even more. Beautiful. You know what to do. I am magnificent. And squeeze your fist and say yes. You're doing spectacular. That's it. Now just bask in that just for a moment. Bask in that and allow it to grow. There you go. And now the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to celebrate. And all I want you to do is I want you to make as much noise as you possibly can. I don't care wherever you are. Jump up and down, shake your ass, do whatever it is. Celebrate like you just won $70 million on the lottery or whatever it is. You just won. On the count of three, ready, celebrate. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Yes! 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 And squeeze your fist and say yes! And say, I am magnificent. Celebrate. That's it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, shake yourself out. And notice how you feel right now. Notice how you feel right now. The blood that's coursing through you, the energy, the adrenaline that's going through you right now, the dopamine that's going through your system. And even if, you might be thinking to yourself, well, this isn't enough. Listen, it's more than enough. Because as we said before, this feeling, here's a question I want to ask you. Is this feeling that you have right now, is it better than any of the negative feelings that you have? The answer is yes. So give yourselves a hand and have a seat. Have a seat. You're doing spectacular, by the way. Let me share something with you. Now, I first want to tell you that this process incorporates a few other things as well. And the way I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to teach you this, I'm going to tell you a real quick story, true story. Now, I have a dear friend, maybe some of you know my friend that I've known for 3 decades now, Tony Robbins. And Tony and I have been business partners for many, many years. And we've done a lot of stuff together. And years ago, we used to do adventures, go on adventures and go do things. Sometimes it'd be swimming with sharks or bungee jumping or skydiving and things like that, because we're men, adrenaline kind of stuff. And so one day, Tony called me up and he goes, hey, he says, meet me at the Fullerton Airport. And he was living in San Diego. I was living in Los Angeles. Fullerton was somewhere in between there. And I didn't ask what it was. That wasn't, he just show up there. And he said, show up there at like, say, 2:30. At 2:30 in the afternoon, I show up there and I get there and I pull around and they gave me directions. His assistant gave me directions of where to go. And it was on the back side of the airport. And so I followed these directions. And as I pull around the corner, there's this huge hangar, airplane hangar. And parked out front were these beautiful, amazing fighter airplanes, real military fighter airplanes. And I looked at them and across the top of the building, it said Air Combat School. Yes. And I thought, okay, well, we're either going to get in these things and fly them around or somebody's going to fly us around, but whatever, this is going to be fun. Now, I'm a pretty punctual guy. And so when you say 2:30 to me, I'm going to be there at 5 minutes till at the very least. And so I showed up, 5 minutes till or whatever, and I sat in my car and I was waiting for Tony to show up. And 2 o'clock hit, and so I get out of my car and I'm just kind of standing around and I'm looking at everything. And I don't want to walk out on the flight line and look at these things, but and by the way, every single time you feel good, do what I just taught you to do. What you're saying, go, I'm magnificent, and squeeze your fist, because every time I feel good, I anchor that, I capture that. So for further use, for later. And so I'm anchoring it in, I'm doing all this is great, this is awesome. And all of a sudden, the hangar door opens up, the small door opens up, and here comes this guy. Now he's about this tall, I'm not that tall, but he's shorter than me, and he comes marching out to me and he goes, are you McClendon? And I go, yes. And he goes, you're late. And I go, well, look, it's only 2 o'clock. And he goes, no, it's 2:05. And I said, well, I've been sitting in my car. And he goes, shut up. And I could tell that this guy was like a drill sergeant type. Now, by the way, he had on the flight suit with the patches and all that stuff, Top Gun looking and stuff like that. And he was genuinely mad. I don't think he was kidding around. But I thought to myself, well, he's playing the part. He's playing the part of the Top Gun or the drill sergeant. And I went like this. I go, yes, sir. Bad mistake. He goes, you think that's funny? This is not joking around. This is the real deal, mister. He says, well, knock that off. You're a civilian, and a civilian never salutes an officer. And I go, dude, easy, it's okay. And I could tell he was really mad. He goes, it's not okay. He said, what you're about to learn could cost you your life. And I thought to myself, okay, this is getting a little bit radical. But I thought, okay, I'm going to play along with it. And I go, okay, listen, my apology. And he goes, I don't want your apology. Shut up. Now, just then, right around the corner, here comes another car. And I thought it was Tony, but it wasn't. It was another friend of ours. His name is Gavin DeBecker. Gavin was one of the premier detectives, and he owns a security company that he's had for many, many years. And so Gavin pulls up, and by now, it's like 10 minutes after 2 o'clock. And Gavin pulls up, and he gets out of his car, and he's going, hey, Joseph, and I'm going, and that guy lights into Gavin the same way he lit into me. Oh, so you're DeBecker? You're late. Even this guy here was here before you. And I'm going, and Gavin's going, yeah, it's okay. And I'm going, no. And he just lit into him, the same thing. And Gavin gets it as well. This is serious business. And the guy kept saying, the drill sergeant kept saying that this is life and death. This will determine how your life is going to be. And so Gavin and I are standing there and freaking out a little bit and not knowing what to do. And then he says, go inside and get yourselves fitted for your flight suit. And so we walk inside, we go inside this building here, and there on the walls are pictures of those that have gone before us. You see all these civilians, and they're all happy. They're, sitting next to the airplane, holding the helmet and things like that, and they're looking like that, posing and things like that. And we're thinking, okay, well, this is cool. This guy may be a little bit of a freak, but, maybe he's conditioning us, whatever. And so we go into this room, and we put on these flight suits, like parachute, pants kind of things, and zip up, onesies, and they got patches on them. They're really cool. Now, when we're sitting in there, there's a window that we can see out on the flight line. And now here comes an airplane with Tony in it. Tony actually flew from San Diego up to Fullerton. It's a private plane, a small plane, propeller plane. And Tony gets out of the plane. He steps down. Now, Tony is 6'7", big guy, if you've ever known him, 6'7", and he gets out of the plane, he's coming down. Now, by now, it's like 15, 20 minutes late. And then here comes the drill sergeant running out to the airplane, and he's yelling at Tony. Oh, so you're the great Tony Robbins. We can hear all of this stuff. We're seeing it. He goes, you're late. Your friends are in there. They've been here for 20 minutes. You could just cost them their life. And for the very first time in my life, I saw Tony Robbins back down. He's going, I'm sorry, and everything. And this guy is like nipping at his heels like a little terrier, as Tony's going in there. And he's yelling at him. He goes, you make me sick. Tony puts on his jumpsuit and everything, we get all ready. And then they take us into a room. And the room is maybe a 12 by 12 room. It's a small room. There's 3 chairs for us to sit down. And it's like that movie Top Gun. Serious. There's a whiteboard, and there's diagrams drawn on it and everything. And there's the airplanes on the stick and everything. And so he goes, this is what you're going to do. And he says, I want you to understand that air combat is about 3 things. So pay attention. 3 things. He says, number 1, always look where you want to go. Look where you want to go. He says these airplanes will fly so fast and they're so sensitive that if you make that much of an adjustment on the stick, the airplane will spiral. If you make that much of an adjustment on the stick, it'll do a loop. If you make that much, it'll dive into the ground. So you can't fly it by your hand like this. You got to just look where you want to go, and the microsensitive nerves and muscles in your hands, you should be able to fly it with your fingertips. If you want to go up, you look up. If you want to go down, you look down. If you want to go to the right, you look to the right. You want to go to the left, and your body will flow along with it. He says if you want to fly level, you just look at the horizon. I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. This is the same as neurolinguistics. It's the same as the way we function. Wherever you look, whatever you imagine is what you're going to feel. And what you're going to feel is what you're going to do. And I thought, I teach this stuff. Of course, I can do this. And then he says, rule number 2, always kill the monster while it's a baby. I thought, okay. And he says, think about this. He says, Tony, he's talking to me, Tony and Gavin are going to be out there to kill you. Should you wait till they get right up on you before you have the battle? No! As soon as you see them, you kill them. As soon as they show up, you go after them and kill them. Don't wait for them to be a big monster. Big monsters are harder to kill than little monsters. Kill the monster while it's a baby. And I thought to myself, well, this is the same thing as what I teach. This is the same thing as neurolinguistics and neuroassociative conditioning and neuroencoding. You don't wait for it to get to be a big monster. Your emotions don't play fair with you. When something happens in the very beginning, you start to worry about something. If you don't do something about it in that moment, that worry is going to get more and more, and it's going to affect your entire life. And I thought, well, this is the same thing. I know how to do this. I can do this. And then he says, step number 3. And he says, that's what you do. Whenever you see Tony or you see Gavin, or Gavin, you see Joseph or whatever, you go after him, you kill him while he's a baby. He says, rule number 3, always, no matter what, without exception, always cheat. Cheat. Now, my dumb ass, I go, well, what do you mean by cheat? Because cheating, I want to play fair. And he goes, shut up. He says, Tony and Gavin, they're not going to play fair. Why would you play fair? You want to do things to trick them into the open so that when they show up, you get to kill them while they're a baby. And I thought, all right, game is on. And I thought, well, isn't that the same as what we teach? Isn't that just exactly the same thing? Just like what I just taught you. We're not going to wait for that to show up. That's when I say, when somebody shows up in my office, and they got a fear of dogs, there's going to be a dog. When somebody shows up for me to help them work on a fear of heights, we're going to go to the top of a building. Why? Because we're going to cheat. We're going to cheat and make that emotion show up. I thought, well, this is brilliant. I can do this. And so now I have certainty about this. Because it's the same thing. And it's the same with the stop technique, by the way, what you'll learn. Those 3 things. Look where you want to go. We already have that. Where you want to go is, I am magnificent. Yes, you already have that. Kill the monster while it's a baby. We're going to actually experience it. I'm going to have you feel those bad feelings. And when they're just a baby, we're going to kill them. I thought, well, this is brilliant. This is great. So he goes, okay, Tony, it says, Gavin and Joseph, you go into the other rooms and get fitted for your helmets. I thought, okay, this is cool. He goes, you guys go there. Tony, you stay here. And I go, well, why does Tony get to stay there? And he goes, shut up! And he goes, Tony has done this before. And I go, yeah, and? And he goes, every time you do it, you get another lesson. And I go, wait a minute. And by the way, just so you know, Tony is a pilot. He flies helicopters and he already knows how to fly. I thought, so wait a minute. He's a pilot. He knows how to fly airplanes. He's already done this before. And you're going to give him an extra advantage that we don't get to have? That's not fair. And he goes, shut up. He goes, life isn't fair, isn't it? Guess you better learn how to cheat. Now, I'm a pretty competitive guy. I stand up and I walk outside the door and I'm pissed off. I'm outside the door and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And in that moment, I always want you to remember that this is the time to revert back to what you already know. And I thought to myself, okay, what he just taught me was to kill the monster. Look where I want to go. I want to be in that room and I want to win this fight. So what do I do? What do I do? And by the way, because I'd already done a bunch of stop techniques, I had calmed down. I thought to myself, okay, what do I want? I want to win the fight and I want to hear what he's having to say. I thought to myself, kill the monster while it's a baby. So I did that. I calmed myself down even more. And then I thought, cheat. And I remember thinking, I looked, the door was still open a little bit. And so I couldn't see everything, but I could peek inside, but I could hear what he was saying. And I'll never forget this. I looked over at Gavin, and Gavin's looking at me like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And I go, get out of here. And so Gavin scampers off. And so I could hear what was going on inside the room. And inside the room, I could hear the guy tell him, he says, these airplanes will only fly so slow. It's airspeed that keeps the plane in the air. And he says, if the plane flies too slow, then it'll fall out of the sky. And he says, so in order to shoot somebody, you got to be behind them. Because the way that they taught us. And he said, you got to line it up and everything. You got a few seconds for it to line up. And he says, but if you can fly slower than the other person, he has to pass you up. And then you're going to be behind him. He says, so I'm going to teach you how to fly slower. He says, we're going to put the airplane in what's called a stall position, which means the nose up, tail down, and you just wiggle the tail like that. And so he says, okay, so, and I can't see it, But I hear him say that, nose up, give it full power or whatever, and wiggle the tail like that. And then what'll happen, and this say like, this is Tony and this is me, and I'm trying to shoot him. Tony goes into that maneuver. He has to pass me up, and Tony would level out and shoot me down. And I thought, okay, I got this. I got enough. I don't know how he's going to do it, but I at least know what he's getting ready to do so I can take some evasive action. Now, my guy was Rocket. And Rocket, in my opinion, has never smiled in his life. He was so freaking serious. He was unbelievably serious. And I go, hey, dude, let's have a good time. My name is Joseph. He wouldn't shake my hand. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to let this guy ruin my time. And I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to go through it. Now, by the way, the whole time, guess what I'm doing? I'm magnificent. Yes, because I'm anchoring this feeling that I'm getting every time I get joyful, which is what I encourage you to do as well, every single time. And we can also hear each other. And so we're talking smack to each other, me, Tony, and Gavin. And the way that it worked, because we were what would be considered student pilots, we couldn't take off together. It had to be one takeoff, and that one had to be like 1.5 miles up and out or whatever before the other one can take off. And as luck would have it, I got to take off first. And the plane gets up and out, and as soon as you hear the landing gear fold up, he goes, "The plane is yours!" Rocket does to me. Now, in that moment, do you think I remembered anything I learned? Absolutely not. I freaked the hell out. I grabbed that stick like it was the last thing on the planet like this, and I'm trying to fly the plane, and I learned a couple things. First off, I never got airsick before, but this thing is flying so fast, and I'm trying to make it go up and down because I don't want it to crash, and so I'm trying to fly it like this, and it's going up and down and up like that. Now I feel like I'm going to puke. I'm going to throw up. And he goes, "Don't you throw up in my aircraft." And it's going up and down like that. And he goes, "Level the airplane out. Level the airplane out." And I go, "Oh, okay." And I try to level the airplane out. And I remembered what he said. Look where you want to go. Look at the horizon. I looked at the horizon. I tried to look at the horizon. But then I found out something that I hadn't thought about when I got in the airplane. And that is that I'm too short to see over the dashboard. And so the only way to level the plane out or to see over the dashboard is I got to bring the stick down. And when I bring the stick down, I can see the horizon, but it goes away and I'm looking at the ground. And then I don't want to go to the ground, so I pull it back up. And there goes the horizon again, up and down and up and down. He's going, level the plane out. And so I don't want to crash, so I'm just going to keep that nose up. But then there's a button or a light with a little beep on it on the dashboard, and it says stall indicator, which means the airplane is pointed this much too much in the air, and it's going to fall out of the sky. And so Rocket's going, level the plane out, level the plane out, look at the horizon, look at the horizon. I go, I can't see the horizon. And he goes, just look at the horizon. I go, I can't see the horizon. He goes, look at the horizon. I can't see the horizon. And I'm freaking out. We're yelling back and forth. And I go, you take this airplane. And I literally felt like I saw him reach over to punch himself out. And I go, you take this airplane. And he goes, look at the horizon. And I go, I can't see the horizon. And he reaches over and grabs my helmet and just points it dead ahead. And he goes, you don't have to see it with your eyes. And all of a sudden, I got it. Remember what I said, your mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not if you imagine it. And I didn't close my eyes, but I just imagined the horizon. And I calmed down. I literally felt myself release my death grip on the stick. And I felt the plane come down and level out. And it wasn't that I was too short, it was just that the nose was too high. And I calmed down. And of course, that was such a wonderful feeling. So what did I do? I'm magnificent, yes. And so now I got it. And now I remember, okay, now I'm calm. And remember, I'd done so many of the things that you're going to do that it becomes my default. Now that's a silly story, but the same thing is for you. The exact same thing is for you whenever you're trying to deal with any kind of negative emotion. Don't wait. Kill the monster while it's a baby. Look where you want to go. You want to go is you want to do all of those things that we talked about before. Healthy, happy, strong, centered, all of those things. You got it right now in your fist, and you got it by pointing your chest and saying this. Kill the monster while it's a baby. And cheat. We're going to cheat. Cheat meaning we're going to make ourselves feel it. In a moment, I'm going to have you feel bad on purpose. For all the reasons I said before, make the monster show up. And when the monster shows up, guess what we're going to do? We're going to kill it while it's a baby. I'm going to give you the elements of the stop technique. And all I want you to do is, you're going to have, obviously you'll see it on the graphic here, but also I want you to write this down. I want you to write down the page, these letters. S, skip a space, and put T, skip a space, put O, skip a space, and put P. Okay? Next to S, write say it. Just write it down. Say it. And in parentheses, put stop. You're going to say the word stop. Now remember, we're going to be employing your body and your mind and everything about you to do this. And underneath that, write pattern interrupt. I'm going to go through them all first, and then I'll explain what they mean. And I'm going to demonstrate it, if you will. Okay? Now, what that means is now remember when I told you sitting on the couch and you're thinking about getting the ink pen, okay? You're going to be sitting in a place, and I'm going to have you go into that unresourceful state, that negative state that you wanted to change. Anyone, doesn't matter what it is. And all you're going to do is you're going to yell out as loud as you can the word stop. Why? Because it's going to interrupt your pattern. And even if it's just for a moment, and by the way, you're going to yell out the word stop, and you're going to jump to your feet, and you're going to stand up. Okay? Why? Because it interrupts a pattern, and it creates that scotoma, and you're no longer in that pattern. It's just how it works. Simple. The T stands for take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Why? Because when we breathe, we actually expand that scotoma, and we give our brain oxygen, and it makes us feel good. So T stands for take a deep breath. And next to that, in parentheses, I want you to put smile. Okay? O stands for outcome. And in parentheses, put predetermined trigger. And P is the last thing that up earlier I said feel good. Feel bad, interrupt the pattern, feel good. And the last thing is praise or celebrate. Praise. Because praise is what teaches our nervous system to do more of it. Anytime you give yourself any kind of praise, your nervous system says, let's do that again, let's do it again. Stop. Take a deep breath. Trigger yourself with the outcome. And then praise yourself. That's all there is to it. You do that enough times, it becomes natural to you. And so here's what it looks like, just so you know. And I'm going to use the words unresourceful for the negative, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate it to you, and this is all we're going to do, okay? When I say unresourceful, I want you to think about and I want you to feel any negative emotion. Now, it could be a specific thing, or it doesn't have to be. It could be a memory, any of those things, any negative emotion. Because remember, you notice I didn't talk about what behavior we're going to change. I'm just going to give you the ability to approach something that if anything showed up negative, it will wash away. Can we use it on something specific? Yes, you can do that. Now remember, this is not therapy. This is just a process that you can use. It's a tool that you have. Now, the process goes like this. I'm going to say unresourceful, which means for you to think about and literally feel the bad emotion. Now, I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit, but you kind of look like this. And most people are like this. Whenever you're feeling bad, you got that look on your face, you're breathing shallow, that kind of thing. And then I'll count to 3. I'll go 1, 2, 3, and you'll yell out the word stop. You'll go stop! You'll put a smile on your face, and you'll jump to your feet and shake yourself out. Why? Because we'll interrupt the pattern. And in that moment, I'll count to 3 again. I'll go 1, 2, 3, and you'll go, I am magnificent. Yes! Why? Because that's the outcome that we want. And so now it's your turn. Now here's what I want you to do. You only can get this wrong if you don't do it. Repetition is the mother of all skill, and that's all we're going to do. We're going to start off the very first time is the longest time I'm going to allow you to be unresourceful. And it's just for a few seconds, just so you can get it. But each time we're going to do it faster and faster and faster and faster, okay? All I want you to do is go along with me, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Have a seat, if you're not already sitting down, and sit down. And give yourself some room so that you can jump to your feet and shake yourself out, okay? And let me demonstrate it one more time. Watch me real closely. Unresourceful, 1, 2, 3, stop! Jump to your feet, smile on your face. 1, 2, 3. I am magnificent. Yes! Sit right back down. Yes, I want you to be silly. Okay? Okay, so here we go. allow your eyes to close. And with your eyes closed, take a deep breath. And as you exhale, I want you to remember, and I want you to think about that thing or those things that cause you to be unresourceful. Notice where you feel it. Maybe it's something that happened in the past. Maybe it's something you're afraid of in the future. Maybe it's just a fear that's going on. Allow yourself to feel it. Notice where it is. Is it in your heart? Is it in your stomach? Think about all the things that it's cost you in the past. There you go. And on the count of 3, you're going to jump to your feet. You're going to yell out the word yes. You're going to jump to your feet and shake yourself out. Okay? Feel it. Feel it. 1, 2, 3. Stop! Jump to your feet. Shake yourself out. Smile on your face. 1, 2, 3. I am magnificent. Yes! And what you're probably starting to notice, it's very hard, if not impossible, to be unresourceful. That's why you're smiling right now. What you've done is you've replaced it. Now, can you get unresourceful if you work at it? Yes, but why would you do that? And we just did this for a few moments. A little over maybe 2 minutes. And look at what's happened. You've affected a change in yourself. And remember what I said. I'm going to give you something to do. You get to do this. And the more you do it, the more it works. So stand up right now. Put a big smile on your face. I love that look on your face right now with that look of, okay, wait a minute, is this working? And if you're even thinking that, it's working. Now, repetition is the mother of all skill. So I'm going to give you an assignment of how to do this and how often to do this for the next 10 days. And you're going to do it, and I promise you, and like I said before, the feeling that you feel right now is way better than what you felt before, yes? But for now, here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes and put a smile on your face. With that smile on your face, just touch your heart. And say thank you to you. And shake yourself out. And sit right back down. Now you're going to have a little residue of this going on. I'm going to give you an assignment here in a moment. But I want to share with you an example of how this works. If you do it, it works. It already is working for you now. But if you do it, it just works. And that is this. The reason I came up with this, the reason I thought of this is because it came a time in my career where I had too many people to work with. It was called a quality problem. But people would call me all the time. I was busy all the time, and I was traveling internationally a lot, and I didn't have time to work with people. And I wanted to help as many people as I possibly can. And so I thought, well, let me teach people how to do it for themselves. And so a guy called me up, and I was living in San Diego at the time, and he said, hey, Mr. McClendon, I need your help. And I said, okay, well, how can I help you? And he goes, I am a chef, and I got the most magnificent job of my life. And the job is, and I said, congratulations. And he said, but the job is on a place called, not Catalina Island, I forget what the island is off the coast. It's not even off the coast. It's actually a peninsula, Balboa Island. Gosh, I forgot the name of it's not Balboa. It is, what's the bridge that goes over to the island? Coronado, okay. And so he says to me, I got my dream job. My dream job is I'm a chef at a restaurant, a really nice restaurant on a place called Coronado Island. If you've been to San Diego, Coronado Island is actually not an island, it is a peninsula. But in order to get there, if you're going to drive, you got to drive, it takes you almost an hour to drive way out here and all the way down to get there. So instead, they built a bridge, and it's a magnificent bridge. This bridge is so high that people skydive off of it. It's amazing. And I said, okay, well, tell me what the challenge is. And he goes, I have a fear of heights. And he says, I just can't cross that bridge. I'm terrified. I've tried it and I can't do it. And I said, okay, I can help you with that. Simple phobia cure that I can help him with. And he says, okay, great. And I said, however, I'm leaving for, I think it was Singapore or Japan or something like that the next morning. And I said, so I'll be back in about 2 weeks and we'll set an appointment and I'll help you on that. And he goes, no, I got to have it now. He says, I got to show up on the job in just a couple days. I go, well, I'm sorry, I just don't have any time to do that. And he goes, well, is there anything that you can do? And I thought, well, yeah, let me teach you the stop technique. And I taught him what I just taught you, but I taught it to him over the phone. I taught him what to do over the phone. And he said, I got it, I'll do it. Now I went away and I went, did what I needed to do. And 2 or 3 weeks later when I came back, whenever it was I came back, and this was in the olden days when we had answering machines, and there was a message on my machine. And it is this guy yelling and screaming at the top of lungs, I did it, I'm on the other side, I did it, I'm amazing, it's amazing. And he's celebrating. And so I called him up and I go, dude, how's it going? He goes, I cannot believe it. He goes, I have every day. I said, I've not driven around once. He goes, I go over the bridge and I'm so confident, I'm so happy about doing it. Thank you. And I told him the truth, which is that what I tell you as well. I'm the facilitator, you do the work. See, this tool that I gave him, the tool that I give you, is something that you use on him, on you. Now, the great part about it is I've spent a few years since I've spoken to him, but as time went on, this guy would send me pictures of him, going over the Grand Canyon in a helicopter and things like that. And the last one I remember was a picture of him, like a little short video of him skydiving. That's how powerful it is. I've had people use this on traumatic experiences that they've had in the past. I'm just going to tell you, life is about what you rehearse, what you do over and over again. And so here's your assignment. Here's what you do outside of here. First off, throw your hand and pat yourself on the back, and congratulations for having played full out in this. And so here's what you're going to do outside of here. For the next 10 days, you are going to do 2 sets of stop techniques on the same thing that you did before, on the same issue. 2 sets means you're going to do it 10 times. You're going to go unresourceful, jump to your feet, shake yourself out. I am magnificent. Yes. Pat yourself on the back, sit right back down. You're going to do that 10 times, faster and faster each time. Now here's what you're going to notice. You're going to do it 2 sets of 10 twice a day. Somewhere where you can find the time, or in the morning or at night or whatever. Don't worry about what people think, whatever. If you got to go out in the garage or somewhere else, just do it. Okay? Each time getting faster and faster. Now here's what you're going to find out. It's going to be tougher and tougher for you to get into that unresourceful state. That's the point. Do not force it. Just think about it. I remember, as I do it now, just for a second, you just get that little twinge and then jump to your feet. Do not stay in that state. Do not try and find it if you can't find it. The search, even if you're looking for it and you're going, I can't find it, do the stop technique. And what you're going to find is in a matter of just a couple days, you won't be able to feel it all. You won't be able to access it at all. But continue to do it. And then what you're going to start noticing is other things in your life. Like I said, when things happen, you will default to a more resourceful state, because that more resourceful state, the conglomeration of all those things, the love, the excitement, the joy, the laughter, and all the things that we did, those are all better. And so I want to congratulate you. And this process that you use, remember what I said before, what the solution is having a process that you can use to interrupt and change anything negative into positive. You are now an expert at the stop technique. And so go out into the world and use this, and use it over and over again, and get yourself to the results. So I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for participating, and congratulations in advance for learning the stop technique. I'll see you at the top.
What an empowering lesson from Joseph McClendon III. Being a part of Joseph's team and helping him to develop this content has been an absolute honor. There are 5 distinct features of the neuroencoding certification. Certification in 2 methodologies, 2 licensed courses, and a licensed keynote. Joseph has spent the last 30 years perfecting his skill and has now articulated his strategies and tactics into 2 science-based methodologies. When it comes to presentation, you'll learn the top to bottom skills, like where to stand on stage and how to use your behaviors to train the audience. This certification course contains all the training you need to not just speak with influence, but present with impact. The neuroencoding method of coaching will enhance your practice, increase your results, and help your clients and teams go further, faster. How? By employing a specific method of coaching that incorporates neuroscience practices designed to work directly with both the conscious and the subconscious mind, without years of painful process. The 2 licensed programs available for neuroencoding specialists to teach come fully resourced with facilitator manuals, scripts, PowerPoints, participant guides, video training, and more. These programs are titled Reboot Your Brain and Program Your Life. In Reboot Your Brain, you'll lead participants through a 5-module course with the ability to sell to individuals or groups, walking them through the 5 elements it takes to clear out their brain, boost up their mindset, and update their mental faculties. Program Your Life is a 12-module continuity program meant to be delivered either to groups and organizations or to individuals via coaching. Each of the 12 lessons feature a different code participants will install into the software of their minds. We make thousands of decisions every day, but we only need to run on about a dozen codes in our brains in order to find fulfillment, impact, purpose, and success. Finally, you'll be licensed to teach the keynote you just witnessed an insider's peek of, offering audiences the stop technique to create change in their lives. If you want more in-depth information about both programs, visit brainrevolution.com. As both a Dr. Amen licensed brain trainer and a Joseph McClendon III certified neuroencoding specialist, you will be expertly trained in critical skills and equipped with material both for your own benefit and for the people you lead and love. Next up, we get to spend time with Dr. Daniel Amen. In Dr. Amen's upcoming Lunch and Learn keynote, he talks about his brain health journey and what fuels his passion for educating people on the importance of making brain health a top priority. Sharing his 7 principles to change your brain in your life, as well as some amazing examples of success stories of those who have incorporated them into their lives. As a Dr. Amen brain health licensed trainer, you'll be licensed to teach this material to audiences in your community. Stay tuned for this incredible session with the one and only Dr. Daniel G. Amen.
Hi, this is Dr. Daniel Amen. I am thrilled to bring you Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. You are not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. But I want to start this talk about 10 years ago. I had just finished my second book on the connection between physical health and mental health. And I was really excited. It was a Sunday morning, and I was getting ready to go to church with my wife, Tana, and my daughter, Chloe, who was 6 at the time. And as we got to church, Tana dropped Chloe off at Children's Church, and I went to save us seats. Now, this is a big church in Newport Beach. And as I walked toward the sanctuary, I saw hundreds of donuts for sale for charity. And I've been going to church since I was 4 years old. I'd always seen the donuts, but today it felt like someone punched me in the gut because there is not one healthy thing about donuts. And then right around the corner from the donuts is bacon and sausage cooking on the grill. Boom, another gut punch. These are not healthy for your body or your brain. And right before I walked into this sanctuary, I saw them cooking hundreds of hot dogs for after church. And now I'm really irritated. And as I found my seat and the minister started talking, he talked about the ice cream festival they had the night before. And now I'm furious. And I'm typing on my phone when Tana finds me in church, and Tana gives me that look that only your wife can give you. Like, why the hell are you on that thing in church? Don't you know you're going to hell? And so I showed her what I was writing. Go to church and get donuts, bacon, hot dogs, sausage, ice cream. They have no idea they are sending people to heaven early. Save them, then kill them. This is not the plan. And that Sunday, I prayed God would use me to change the culture of food at church. And while I was praying, you'll see during this talk, I have an attitude problem. While I was praying, I'm like, no, that's just the dumbest prayer you've ever prayed. And I told God, it's my prayer. You do with it what you want. And then I sort of forgot about it until 2 weeks later, I got a call from Pastor Rick Warren, who is the senior pastor at Saddleback Church, one of the world's largest churches with 20 campuses, over 60,000 members. And he said, I'm fat. My church is fat. Will you help me? And I said, you had me from hello. And thinking of the prayer, I was so excited. And together with Pastor Warren and my friend, Dr. Mark Hyman, we created the Daniel Plan, a community-based healthcare initiative to get the world healthy through religious organizations. The first week, January 15th, 2011, 15,000 people signed up, and the results were just spectacular. Over the first year, the group lost over 250,000 pounds, and they reported better energy, focus, creativity, sleep, and mood, reductions in stress, blood pressure, blood sugar, sexual dysfunction, which is always fun to talk about in church, and many medications. We went on to write the #1 New York Times best-selling book, The Daniel Plan, and this program has been done in thousands of churches, synagogues, temples, and communities worldwide. And it's based on 5 pillars. Faith. Why do you care? Food. It matters. Fitness. Friends. We get better together or we get sick together. And focus, which was my section on brain health. And why did we start with the brain? Because brains run the world. Brains run the stock market, the local market, huge corporations, mom and pop shops down the street. Brains run governments, although not that well. Brains run schools. This is actually the Fraser Academy in Vancouver, Canada, that does our high school program, Brain Thrive by 25, that has actually been studied and decreases drug, alcohol, and tobacco use, decreases depression, and improves self-esteem. Brains run churches, picture at Saddleback Church. Brains run families, this is my family. And brains run you. Yet most people rarely think about their brain, which is a huge mistake because success in anything you do starts with a healthy brain. Your competitive advantage in life or your disadvantage is the physical functioning of your brain. A little bit about my journey, how I became passionate about brain health. I am one of 7. I'm third, so totally not special. And growing up, my dad called me a maverick, and to him, that was not a good thing. 1972, I turned 18. The US government still had a draft. I had a low draft number. I became an infantry medic where my love of medicine was born. But about a year into it, I realized I didn't like being shot at. It sort of wasn't my thing. You know, there are people that like running toward fires and other people run away from fires. Well, I got myself retrained as an X-ray technician and developed a passion for medical imaging. As our professors used to say, how do you know unless you look? And then in 1975, I got out of the military, finished college, went to medical school. And in 1979, I'm a second-year medical student when someone I love tries to kill herself. And I took her to see a wonderful psychiatrist and quickly came to realize if he helped her, which he did, it wouldn't just help her, that ultimately it would help her children and subsequently her grandchildren as they would be shaped by someone who was happier and more stable. I fell in love with psychiatry because I realized It has the potential to change generations of people. And I have loved it virtually every day for the last 42 years. Yet, I fell in love with the only medical specialty that virtually never looks at the organ it treats. And with my imaging background, I knew it was wrong. I knew it would change. Even academics in the field at the time said imaging is the future of psychiatry. And in 1991, so I'd been practicing for almost a decade, I went to a lecture on the study we do at Amen Clinics called brain SPECT imaging. SPECT combined with psychiatry create a revolution in my life, the work we do at Amen Clinics, and the lives of everybody I know. SPECT is a nuclear medicine study that looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how the brain works. And SPECT basically tells us three things: healthy activity, too little, or too much. The image on the left looks at the outside surface, and a healthy scan shows full, even, symmetrical activity. The image on the right, blue is average activity, red is the most active part of the scan, which is typically in the back bottom part of the brain in an area called the cerebellum, which has half the brain's neurons. If you take a healthy scan and compare it to someone who has 2 strokes, it's not hard to read these scans. Or someone with Alzheimer's disease, where you can see the back half of the brain dying. And one of the things we learned is Alzheimer's starts in the brain up to 20 years before people have any symptoms. This is a 59-year-old woman I diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Odds are she had negative changes in her brain in her 20s. So if you're waiting to have memory problems before you get serious about being healthy, that is a bad strategy. This is an example of someone with a traumatic brain injury. One of the big lessons we've learned at Amen Clinics is mild traumatic brain injury ruins people's lives, and nobody knows about it. And so we should not be letting children hit soccer balls with their head, play tackle football, do dangerous sports that put them at risk for concussions. Drug abuse, the real reason not to use drugs is they damage your brain. And if they damage your brain, they damage your life. They damage your relationships. They damage your work. They damage your health. They damage your potential. When the front part of the brain works too hard, it often does in people with obsessive compulsive disorder, or people who have bipolar disorder often have a pattern we call the ring of fire, where there's just too much activity. In 1991, when I started scanning people, I scanned everybody I knew. I scanned an aunt who had a panic disorder. I scanned some of my friends who I knew needed it. And I scanned my mother, who at the age of 60 had a stunningly beautiful brain, which really reflected her life. She has 7 children, 50 grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Even now, at 89, she knows everybody's birthday. She's everybody's best friend. I mean, she's really amazing. And then I got up the nerve to scan myself when I was 37, and it was not healthy. It was bumpy and looked older than I was, and I hated that. And I'm someone, I don't drink, I've never done drugs, but I played football in high school. I had meningitis when I was a young soldier, and I had bad habits. I was only sleeping 4 hours a night. I was chronically stressed. I ate a lot of bad food. I was overweight. And when I saw the scan compared to my mom's, I developed a concept called brain envy. I wanted my mother's brain. And I often say Freud was wrong. He was about 2.5 feet too low in the body. It's brain envy you want. You want to love and care for your brain, and you want a better brain. So, doing all of the strategies that I recommend to you, 25 years later, my brain's fuller, fatter, healthier, you are not stuck with the brain you have. You can, like I did, you can make it better. Spec changed everything in my children's lives. If you date one of my kids for more than a couple of months, I scan you. So it's just very important to know about the health of the people who are going to be in your family, the brain health of the people who are going to be in your family. Spec changed everything in my own love life. I got divorced in 2000 after being married for 20 years. And I told myself, if I ever got married again, the first naked part of someone I wanted to see was their brain. I met Tana January 1st, 2006. You can see she's beautiful. She's smart. She was neurosurgical ICU nurse. My heart went fast, but I always say use your brain before you give your heart away. So after about 2.5 weeks, I said, hey, you haven't seen the clinic. Don't you want to see the clinic? And, we bonded over our love for the brain. She came to the clinic. We scanned her. Her brain was healthy. So a couple of years later, I married her. She's been my best friend for the last 15 years. We work together. We've done almost 1,000 podcasts together, 4 national public television specials. She's just my best friend. And part of our bonding is over brain health. SPEC completely changes the discussion around mental health. What I've learned is no one really wants to see a psychiatrist. No one wants to be labeled as defective or abnormal. I remember in 1979 when I told my dad I wanted to be a psychiatrist. He asked me why I didn't want to be a real doctor, why I wanted to be a nut doctor and hang out with nuts all day long. I mean, that's just how people think in society. Now, my father would actually never have gotten Father of the Year award, right? Don't do that to your children. But I sort of get it, that no one really wants to see a psychiatrist or wants a label, but everybody wants a better brain. So what if mental health was really brain health? And this is part of the revolution that I am working so hard to create around the world. Because when you see mental health as brain health, people see their problems as medical and not moral. It decreases shame and guilt. It increases compliance because people want a better brain. It increases forgiveness and compassion in families because they see the problem as medical and not moral. So let me give you 7 principles to change your brain and change your life. And they're all super simple. Principle number 1, your brain is involved in everything you do. How you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people. Your brain is the organ of judgment, personality, intelligence, and every single decision you make. And I think my number 1 favorite patient ever was Muhammad Ali. And do you think boxing is good for your brain or bad for your brain? Obviously, bad for your brain. So super simple, right? Your brain is involved in everything you do and everything you are. Principle number 2, equally simple, but a little bit more disturbing. When your brain works right, you work right. But when your brain is troubled, for whatever reason, you're much more likely to have trouble in your life. With a healthy brain, people are happier. They're healthier. They're wealthier. Why? They make better decisions. They're more successful in every area of their life. When your brain is not healthy, for whatever reason, people are sadder, sicker, poorer, because their decisions aren't as good. The physical functioning of your brain is the hardware of every decision you make. And as my friend Joseph McClendon says, thoughts drive feelings, feelings drive behaviors, and behavior drives outcomes. All of those are based on the actual physical functioning of your brain. And when your brain works right, you work right. And when your brain is troubled for whatever reason, you are much more likely to have trouble in your life. Principle number 3, your brain is the most amazing organ in the universe. There is nothing as complicated as the human brain. It's estimated we have 100 billion neurons, and each neuron is connected to other neurons by up to 10,000 individual connections. And when you do the math, you realize you actually have more connections in your brain than there are stars in the universe. And even though your brain is only 2% of your body's weight, it uses 20 to 30% of the calories you consume, 20% of the oxygen, 20% of the blood flow. Your brain is the most expensive real estate in your body. If you take a piece of brain tissue, the size of a grain of sand, it has 100,000 neurons and 1 billion connections all talking to one another. It's been estimated that your brain has the storage capacity of 6 million years of the Wall Street Journal. Your brain is very special, which means it needs what it needs. Principle number 4, your brain is soft, and it's housed in a very hard skull that has multiple sharp bony ridges. Mild traumatic brain injuries ruin people's lives, and nobody knows about it because most psychiatrists and psychologists never look at the functioning of the brain. Undiagnosed brain injuries are a major cause of homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, depression, panic attacks, ADHD, and suicide. These are 2 of my patients. The one on the left is a 15-year-old boy who fell down a flight of stairs when he was 3 and was only unconscious for about a half an hour. He had what the doctor described as a mild traumatic brain injury. Obviously, there was nothing mild about what happened to him. I saw him after he had failed his 3rd residential treatment program because of his erratic, aggressive behavior. He just couldn't live at home. The image on the right is of a university middle linebacker who had been arrested for domestic violence. You can just see the damage in his brain. Principle number 5, brain health is basically 3 simple strategies. 1, brain envy, gotta care. 2, avoid anything that hurts your brain. Need to know the list. 3, engage in regular brain healthy habits. We created a mnemonic at Amen Clinics to help us know what to avoid and what to do. We call it Bright Minds. And on the screen, you can see what it stands for, but let me just quickly walk through it. The B in Bright Minds is for blood flow. Low blood flow, number 1 brain imaging predictor of Alzheimer's disease. Anything that decreases blood flow impairs brain function. So hypertension decreases blood flow. As blood pressure goes up, blood flow to the brain goes down. Any heart disease or vascular disease decreases blood flow. Caffeine, yes, I said that. Nicotine, absolutely. being overweight, we'll talk more about that, and having low hormones. We'll talk about that as well. Retirement and aging. The older you get, the less activity there is in the brain, typically. So as we age, your skin sort of falls off your face. That same process happens in the brain, but it doesn't have to. The I is for inflammation, which is a major cause of depression and dementia. It often comes from low levels of omega-3 fatty acids, eating a lot of processed food, having an unhealthy gut, or having gum disease. Genetic vulnerability is the G in Bright Minds. You want to know what runs in your family, but genes are not a death sentence. What they should be is a wake-up call. So in my family, I have obesity, and it's there in my genes, which say I have a 67% chance of being overweight or obese. I'm not, because I don't give in to the behaviors making it likely to be so, but I have to work at it. And heart disease, my grandfather died of heart disease. I don't have it. Why? Because I work at preventing it. We talked about head trauma, toxins. Alcohol is not a health food. It damages the brain. Marijuana is not going green. There are many other toxins too. General anesthesia for some people can be toxic to their brain. Mold exposure, some of the toxic products you might put on your body. Mental health issues, ADD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. It's important to get those treated. Otherwise, they can damage the physical functioning of your brain. Immunity and infections, sort of prophetic given the pandemic and COVID-19, which can impact brain function, but also infections like Lyme disease and herpes and Epstein-Barr and toxoplasmosis. They're a major cause of brain health, mental health issues. The N is neurohormone disorders. You should have your hormones checked yearly. Testosterone, estrogen and progesterone for women, thyroid for everyone, insulin, DHEA, pregnenolone, diabetes. It's the sleeper one. Most people don't know as your weight goes up, the actual physical size and function of your brain goes down, which should scare the fat off anyone. I'd actually been pudgy and overweight for much of my adult life until I read the study from the University of Pittsburgh that said as your weight goes up, the size of your brain goes down. Caused me to lose almost 30 pounds. And I've kept it off since then because I just don't want a smaller brain. Diabetes is a combination of being overweight and or having high blood sugar. So many people, actually 50% of the population is diabetic or pre-diabetic. You want to see that as an emergency because as blood sugar goes up, it actually erodes blood vessels, damages them, and blood flow goes down. Sleep is the S in Bright Minds. If you're not getting 7 hours of good sleep at night, odds are you have lower overall blood flow to the brain. So these are the things to avoid, but they also teach us what to do. You want better blood flow? Exercise. The supplement ginkgo. Foods like beets, cayenne pepper, oregano. It's just very important to take care of your blood vessels. Retirement and aging, new learning. New learning should be part of your life. Inflammation, get rid of the processed foods, floss every night, omega-3 fatty acids, and probiotics to enhance gut health. Genetic vulnerability, you just got to be serious about what you're vulnerable to. Protect your head, avoid toxins, and support the organs of detoxification, which means drink more water, flush out things through your kidneys, eat more fiber, flush out things through your digestive tract, avoid things that hurt your liver like alcohol, and eat brassicas, which are detoxifying vegetables, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. Mental health, learn how to not believe every stupid thing you think. Vitamin D, know your vitamin D level and make sure you optimize it. I'm also a huge fan of therapeutic mushrooms, not magic mushrooms, but therapeutic mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi and turkey tail. Hormones, get your neurohormones tested yearly. Work with your doctor to optimize them. Diabetes, get to a healthy weight, and eliminate the simple carbs out of your diet. There's this great study from the Mayo Clinic where they looked at people who had a fat-based diet. Think fish, healthy oils, nuts and seeds, avocados. They had 42% less risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. And they compared that to people who had a simple carbohydrate-based diet, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, fruit juice, sugar. Those people had a 400% increase risk for getting Alzheimer's disease. It's the food. And make sure you make sleep a priority. One of the things we learned is you could go, oh my goodness, that's like so much information all at once. But it's your brain. It's totally worth focusing on it. Now remember, it's really simple. Brain health is 3 things. Brain envy, you got to care about it. Avoid anything that hurts it. Do things that help. And we've come up with all sorts of tiny habits. What's the smallest thing I can do today that will make the biggest difference? And the super tiny habit is, as you go through your day, you just ask yourself, if what I'm about to do, is it good for my brain or bad for it? And if you can answer that question with information and love, you're going to do the right things. Let me give you an example. This is Nancy. Nancy is from Oxford, England. Nancy, when I saw her, was 82 years old. And when she was 80, she was obese, she was depressed, she was a couch potato, she was hopeless and felt helpless. And she was in a used bookstore in Oxford and found a copy of my book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And it just laid around the house for about a year. And when she decided to pick it up, she said she was riveted. I love that. And as she underlined the book, she actually later showed me her book. It was filled with all these underlines. She's like, oh, I can't do everything at once. And so her strategy was to start with one simple thing at a time. So she first started by drinking more water. Hydration. Your brain is 80% water. So your body is 70% water, but your brain is 80% water. And if you're just dehydrated by 2%, you can actually be cognitively impaired. And she said she started feeling better. And then she started taking simple supplements. I recommend all of my patients a great multiple vitamin. And I have a supplement company because I'm always thinking, first do no harm, use the least toxic, most effective treatments. Supplements have a lot of science behind them, and they don't hurt anybody. And given that a high percentage of the population does not eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, we have deficiencies in things like choline and potassium and magnesium and vitamin D. So she took a multiple vitamin, high dose, high quality, omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil, and optimized her vitamin D level. And she said she felt better. And then she started exercising. So first she started walking. Then she thought, well, I'll do new learning and exercise at the same time, and started taking dance classes. And then she did what I believe is the world's best exercise, table tennis. Because in ping pong, you got to get your eyes, your hands, your feet all to work together while you think about the spin on the ball. She said she felt better still. And then she changed her diet to a more healthy, fat-based diet where she eliminated the simple carbohydrates. And she said, I ate the healthy foods first, so there was no room for the bad ones, and I never felt like I was depriving myself. Now, one tip I give my patients, you only want to love foods that love you back. You're in a relationship with food, and you're like, oh, but I don't like any of the foods that are good for me. Well, have you looked at the list of 10,000? You really got to get your mind right about this. And then she engaged in new learning. And when I met her, so she started with the guitar and then French classes. When I met her, she was learning 3 languages. She lost 70 pounds. I think that was 12 stones. When she said stones, I'm like, what's that? 70 pounds. She began to share with her family because they were like stunned that mom, who was obese and overweight, all of a sudden she's cute and has energy and is excited about her life. And then she came to see us at our clinic. I have 9 clinics around the country, but she came to the one in Southern California. And I was there that day. And my assistant said, Daniel, you have to meet Nancy. She's from Oxford, England. She read your book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And she's giving herself a scan for her 82nd birthday. And as I listened to Nancy's story, I started to cry because Nancy's the reason we do what we do. And as part of her scan, this is a group of typical 80 to 90-year-old brains. They look terrible, sort of like 80 to 90-year-old faces, you know. Lots of wrinkles, and they don't have that wonderful, youthful look. But when we scanned Nancy's brain, it was stunningly beautiful. Her brain looked like somebody who was 40 years old. And when she saw her scan, she started to cry. And what she said, I know, just 2 years ago, my brain would not look like this. So I just thrilled to know Nancy. But if an 80-year-old obese, depressed, couch potato woman can do this, it is not hard. You just have to do one simple thing at a time. What's the one thing you can start with today? And this all is never about you should do this and you should do that. It's all about I do the right thing because I love myself. Drew Carey, the famous comedian, I love what he said because he got really healthy and lost a lot of weight. And he said, eating crappy food isn't a reward. It's a punishment. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, he's going to stay well. My favorite principle, the one that gets me up every morning, the one that has me talking to you, is you're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. You can change your brain, and when you do, you change your life. So Amen Clinics was involved in the largest study on active and retired NFL players. Why? Well, in 1994, the NFL formed its concussion committee, yet it never sponsored a brain imaging study on players. Instead, they studied rats. They put little tiny helmets on rats, whacked them in the head with these 50 to 100 gram pellets, put them in dryers, threw them down laundry chutes. And Roger Goodell in 2009, in front of Congress, said the NFL didn't know if playing football caused long-term brain damage. They were studying the issue. The problem with the NFL position is if you don't admit you have a problem, you can't do anything to solve it. Brain damaged players were left without help or hope. And in 2009, Amen Clinics and the NFL Players Association did the first and largest brain imaging study on players. SPECT helped to change everything. This is on our first 100 players. We saw high levels of damage. But that didn't surprise us. I mean, most thoughtful 9-year-olds would go, brain is soft, about the consistency of soft butter. Skull is really hard. Skull has sharp, bony ridges. Put these huge, fast, strong athletes, have them whack each other in the head over and over again. The helmet does not protect you against brain damage. It protects you against skull fractures. Inside your skull, the brain is not fixed. It floats in water. So head to head or head to knee or head to ground inside your skull on every play, the brain is violently shaking, causing damage. So that didn't surprise us. But what excited us is when we put these players on a rehabilitation program, 80% of our players got better. Meet Duval Love, offensive guard for the Los Angeles Rams, played 12 years. His brain just looked terrible. And he had been arrested. He was morbidly obese. He was depressed. He was really unhappy. And it goes with the physical functioning of his brain, which is very damaged. But when we put him on our brain rehabilitation program, so we taught them brain envy, avoid bad things, do good things, put them on a multiple vitamin, put them on a brain-directed nutraceutical that we created called Brain and Memory Power Boost, put them on omega-3 fatty acids at a good dose, something we make called omega-3 power. So lifestyle interventions, but simple, like Nancy, clear supplements, multiple vitamin, brain and memory power boost, omega-3 fatty acids. Within 2 months, 80% of our players are better. We published this in a scientific journal. They had better blood flow to the front part of their brain, their memory, mood, attention, motivation, and sleep were all better. How exciting is that? You're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better. Duval's scan, a year later, he'd lost 110 pounds and his brain was dramatically improved. Better brain equals a better life. One more story. And this is one of my favorite stories. Ray White was a San Diego Charger. He was a linebacker. And he joined my study so that I would see his wife, Nancy, who had just been diagnosed with frontal temporal lobe dementia. And the neurologist said Ray should find a home for Nancy because within a year, she would not know his name. And Ray was sad and angry, and he wanted another opinion. And so Ray was part of our study, and when I saw Nancy, she had frontal temporal lobe dementia. This is what it looks like. The front part of her brain is deteriorating. But I put her on our Bright Minds program. We literally did everything. And 10 weeks later, she had dramatically improved blood flow to her brain. And Ray said I had to slow down because she was going to be smarter than he was. But my favorite follow-up picture after 10 weeks is actually not of Nancy's brain. I love that. It's of Ray's body, that in those 10 weeks, Ray had lost 30 pounds. And I looked at him because part of our treatment in our NFL group was an NFL weight loss program, because you heard me say, as your weight goes up, the size and function of your brain goes down. And I'm like, Ray, how'd you do that? And he said something so profound. He said, I knew if I did everything you said, she would too. I would model a brain healthy life. Ray loved Nancy. What are you modeling for the people who need you? What are you modeling for your family, for your children, for your parents, for your coworkers, for your friends? Are you modeling brain health, or are you modeling brain illness? You can do this. None of this is hard, but you first have to love your brain, avoid anything that hurts it, engage in regular brain healthy habits, and you too can be like Ray and Nancy. You can change your brain. And when you do, you change your life. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen.
What valuable lessons coming from Dr. Amen, and what valuable lessons for any person to take forward into their circle of influence and create healthier brains to create healthier lives. As a certified and licensed brain trainer, you'll be able to teach the lesson you just learned and will be equipped with supplemental material. There are 6 distinct features of the Brain Trainer Certification course. All of Dr. Amen's licensed to teach resources come with materials that include how to coach a client in the program material, a PowerPoint to accompany your teaching, facilitator and participant guides, lesson transcripts, and mastermind guides. The Brain Health Licensed Trainer course coaching journey has hours of content-rich resources to help you coach clients through their brain health journeys to success. In addition to coaching and training curriculum, you'll be licensed to teach memory rescue. In this program, there are 12 modules taking you through the how-tos of assessing risk for memory problems, preventing or minimizing the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind, sharpening your memory, reversing brain aging, decreasing your risk for Alzheimer's, and eating to boost cognitive function. In the licensed program, Brain, Fit for Work and Life, you'll be equipping individuals and organizations with a detailed roadmap for building and sustaining a mentally energized, successful workforce. Based on neuroscience, this scientifically engineered course can help employees and teams become mentally stronger, sharper, faster, and more productive by enhancing their brain and business. You'll also get Brain Thrive by 25, a licensed program that those certified as a Dr. Amen licensed brain trainer can deliver. In this program, there are 12 exclusive, evidence-based video modules with downloadable slides, worksheets, and practice lab sessions led by Dr. Amen and Professor Dr. Jesse Payne. You will learn the essentials for better health, how to nurture, protect, and improve the developing mind, identify how your brain and the brains of others can help in relationships, academics, and work. Finally, you'll be licensed to deliver the Brain Warrior's Way. In this program, there are 26 video lessons that teach how to change your mindset and know your motivation to be healthy, discover which foods and supplements fuel your success, establish daily habits and routines to protect your health, transform your pain to purpose, create your own brain warrior tribe, gain skills that will last you a lifetime, and includes a brain health assessment that you can take before and after the course. The resources provided by Dr. Daniel Amen, combined with the resources provided by Joseph McClendon III, create an unstoppable market positioning that allow revolutionaries to create change, generate income, and personally and professionally grow. Just as a reminder, as a Dr. Amen brain trainer and a neuroencoding specialist, you will always keep 100% of what you earn and are positioned to stand on the shoulders of 2 genius giants to achieve your goals. This opportunity is unprecedented for the teaching and coaching industry, for professionals to partner for impact in this way and equip people just like you to create fast and lasting change in themselves and those around them is incredible to see. We started today's Revolutionary Summit learning about the functions of the brain and understanding how our hardware, our physical brain, and our software, our thinking mind, have a trickle-down effect of impact in every area of our life. We then heard live from Dr. Daniel Amen and Joseph McClendon III in an incredible discussion. After, we covered the details of the groundbreaking dual certification being offered. Lastly, we moved into our Stop Technique keynote preview with Joseph McClendon III, followed by the Lunch and Learn keynote with Dr. Daniel Amen. Today, these leaders came together to add value to you, to help you in living a happy, healthy life. If you're ready to take the next step and equip yourself to equip others with this science-backed, heart-centered approach to coaching and training, visit brainrevolution.com. Regardless of whether you join us in this opportunity, taking your current practice to the next level, or launching your own coaching and speaking business, Joseph and Daniel wanted to be sure all revolutionaries receive something to help them carry forward in their journey to health and happiness. This is why you'll be receiving a free accelerator package complete with a 6-part personal development course from Joseph and a recipe guide based on Dr. Amen's Daniel Plan. The goal of this summit and this revolution is to help people get out of their heads and get into their lives. The world has never before needed people to step up and into their greatest potential in this way. The ideas of mental illness that discount human suffering are detrimental to our progress. With nearly half of the population of the US experiencing symptoms of depression, anxiety, or some other mental illness, we must normalize the experience, drop the stigma, and most importantly, equip people with tools they need to overcome the challenges they're facing and reach their ultimate, unlimited potential. A revolution cannot be accomplished by one person. A revolution requires an army of individuals courageous enough to stand for their cause. In this case, we stand to normalize brain health, end shame around internal challenges, and to create a future where people are equipped to handle the many challenges they face with stability and optimism. We need you to be a part of this revolution. Dr. Daniel Amen and Joseph McClendon III simply can't do it alone. You're here for a reason. You did not find yourself on this summit today by accident. Chances are you're someone like Joseph, like Daniel, like me, who wants to see major changes in the realm of human health and happiness. We want to thank you for spending this time with us today. Together, we will begin a tidal wave of change to be felt across the world. Together, we will stand against the injustice of human suffering. Together, we will ignite a brain revolution. I'm Kendra Richardson, and thank you for joining us today for the Brain Revolution Summit.